Do you love wrestling? Do you love all elite wrestling? Make sure you check out the good, the bad, and the hungy here on the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. My name is Tyler Fornes, and my co-host Fred Moreland and I discuss all the happenings of all elite wrestling across the universe, including when they make trips overseas. We talk about Dark, we talk about Rampage, we talk about Dynamite, and everything in between, including Tony Khan and his both brilliant and confusing booking. Make sure you check us out. We drop our shows on Thursdays to make sure that we keep up with Dynamite and make sure we give you all the current happenings in all elite wrestling.
Music. It's not just part of our daily lives, it's part of our wrestling fandom as well, and it has been for decades. That's where this show comes in. Music of the Mat, the podcast devoted exclusively to the music of pro wrestling, hosted by Andrew Rich. Hey, that's me. Each episode delivers a different topic with a variety of great guests, fun conversations, musical analysis, and of course, a heartfelt pun or two. New episodes drop every other Tuesday on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or your podcast app of choice. Check out Music of the Mat only on the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network.
This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
What do you guys want to talk about?
You are listening to the Flagship Podcast with your hosts, Joe Lanza.
They should throw sardines at these people. the guy that said, how is it that you're able to be so great? They should have thrown him a fucking sardine to catch in his mouth. And you know, that's what they, here's a treat,
And Rich Craich.
Or there's somebody listening right now that has never listened to us before and probably will never listen again. So hello and goodbye. You should try us out though. We're pretty good. So maybe stick with us for another hour. After an hour, if you don't like the vibe, hit the bricks. We don't want you anyway.
And we are live on the Flagship Podcast. I am Rich. He is Joe. Joe, what is happening? How are you?
There's a lot happening.
A lot happening in this wrestling world. Never. The world of MLW never stops. And, man, the professional wrestling world just will not stop, cannot stop. And, man, especially that world of AEW. There's always something, always a twist, always a turn. And for now, we're good, right? If you had to take the temperature on AEW at this exact moment right now, pretty good, right? I'd say.
Yeah. I mean, pay-per-view weekend. CM Punk back in the fold, although not
today
announced on television yet. But, and then set up for a huge summer after they get past Double or Nothing. So, I mean, if I'm Tony Khan right now, I'm feeling really good. I'm feeling a lot of pressure. There's a lot of huge shows that they have to put together. But you got to feel good. And if you're an AEW fan, you're going to have a tremendous summer of big show after big show to look forward to, plus the debut of a new television show. So, yeah, a lot of things are looking up in AEW for sure.
And if you love, the drama of wrestling, Phil Brooks is still there, and I'm sure something will come up, something will occur. So yeah, if you're into the wrestling, you're going to get a lot of good wrestling this summer in a lot of different companies, and certainly if you like the drama of wrestling, well, CM Punk's in AEW again, so you're always down for something. But yeah, you did hate to do a plug less than 5 minutes into the show, but I'm plugging away, goddammit, because this is our show and we can do it. FlagshipPatreon.com. The Thursday AEW Dynamite review that you did this week is equal parts a Dynamite review of last night's go home show for Double or Nothing, and then also the Punk timeline, which I think really is something everybody should listen to, because I think if you've been watching this from afar, or even if you haven't been watching it afar and your head was spinning, like last week when we remember last week when we came on here and I was like, I don't even know how to begin to tell you what is going on, how to put it in any sort of timeline or anything. Luckily now, with the benefit of time and understanding and you talking to people and putting everything together, you have basically created the perfect way to know what the CM Punk timeline was and to have an idea of what that how it came together, what pitfalls happened along the way, when things were worked out, and to get to this point. Now, will those things change in 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks? Maybe, I don't know. It's CM Punk and it's AEW. It's very possible. But as of this time right now, I think that is like the definitive listen. If you have the chance to do it, it's on our $5 tier. Thursday Dynamite Reviews, the Punk timeline, where you just you go through it all, how it got here, now where we are at this point here, recording here on May 25th. Something you guys definitely should listen if you haven't listened to yet. Definitely well worth your time. So if you think it's just a Dynamite review and you're like, I don't care, I watch Dynamite. No, it's a good Dynamite review, no doubt. But yeah, that first part of it, the Punk timeline, is, I think, essential radio to catch you up to what the hell's been going on here. Mostly drama free too. I think you got into like things that caused certain little dramas here and there, but it was mostly just, here's the facts. All right, here you go. Here's the facts. Here's what's happening. Here's how it happened. And here we are right now. So definitely recommend that to anybody listening to this who has not listened to that. Well worth their time. I think we'll recap a little bit of it here, but I think you did it there for, God, how long was that? 35, 40 minutes, basically, going through the whole Punk timeline?
I think I went almost 40 minutes on the Punk stuff before I got into the review of the show. But there was a lot of stuff last week on the Flagship, that we just didn't know yet. And, I put in a lot of work during the week talking to a lot of different people and collecting information. And there was a lot of light bulb moments too, as I was going through that. And, I tried to make it as clear and orderly as possible on the audio, to kind of take people through going from last Tuesday all the way through basically the Dynamite show last night, everything that's happened, why it happened, some of the misconceptions of things that happened. And I tried to be as fair as possible and unbiased towards, not biased towards any of the different sides. I think that Punk, in some regards, has been misrepresented to some extent when it comes to certain things. I think Tony Khan has been misrepresented when it comes to certain things. And I think the elite side, in some ways, has been misrepresented when it comes to a lot of things with all of this. There seems to be this idea that, if you ask the common wrestling fan, someone who might not be as dialed in as we are, or some of our listeners, and I think even some of our listeners, if you ask them, the general interpretation of everything that has gone on, and they would tell you, well, Tony Khan's a pushover and CM Punk always gets his way. And that's not really the truth of the matter, and it's Tony Khan's a pushover, CM Punk always gets his way, and the elite always get shit on, and they don't get their way in any regard. And I don't think any of that is true when you really look at how a lot of the stuff is played out. And we just didn't know a ton when we did our show last week. We did the best we could. We pieced it together. And in fact, I did talk to some people who listened to our audio, and they said, you guys have an amazing ability to. Of course, I'm putting us over.
Yeah, please continue. But, yeah, I love it. Keep going.
No, but some said you guys have an amazing ability to have the right instincts when it comes to a lot of stuff, because sometimes you don't have any information, but your instincts lead you pretty much in the right direction when it comes to a lot of these things, which obviously I took as a huge compliment. But
I just wish my instincts were as good with like the stock market or finances, but I'm glad that it's understanding messy wrestling drama instead. So yeah, that's all right. That's fine.
Yeah. But
real
but
estate. It'd be nice to have that keen sense of real estate, but now I have it of messy wrestling drama instead. That's fine.
Yeah, and everybody says it's a good piece of audio, and they learned a ton, and there was a lot of good insights in it. So I'll take their word for it. Of course, the minute I slapped stop on the recording, I thought it sucked and I blew the whole thing. But that's just me being super hard on myself, like I always am. But yeah, I mean, the gist of it, to catch everybody else up, is this. And I'm not going to do 40 more minutes on it. But the gist of it is CM Punk always intended to come back to work. And if you were in our Discord all week long and following along with, the things I was talking people out of trees there and everything. I never wavered from that. CM Punk, at every step, at every point along the way, even when things were ugly early last week, the day of the upfronts and the day before with the Ace Steel thing, he never not intended to come to work. He always, the double negative, he always intended to come to work. He was never threatened not to come to work. But the thing is, Tony Khan was not going to allow CM Punk to come back to work until he had some assurances. And, that's, it's funny. A lot of things happen and then they get extrapolated into something else. Like, these two sides, the AEW side and the CM Punk side, have been, playing ping pong with these legal documents, adjusted contract, whatever you want to call it, NDAs, for a long time now. And that's just how lawyers operate. You send it to one side, that side takes a look, they make a couple of adjustments. Everything's a negotiation when it comes to things like this. But somehow that got turned into AEW sending CM Punk legal threats. And when you say legal threats, that sounds really ominous, right? And then it gives everyone this impression that there's this contentious relationship between CM Punk and Tony Khan, when everything I've been told is the complete opposite, that CM Punk and Tony Khan over the last week or so have just been talking about creative plans, and they're on tremendous terms, all while these negotiations were going on with these documents, which were signed on Tuesday. On Tuesday, everything was signed, sealed, and delivered. Everything that CM Punk needed to sign, needed to agree to, has been signed and agreed to. And that was no surprise to any of the people that I spoke to, because CM Punk and Tony Khan have been on great terms ever since they worked out the Ace Steel thing on Tuesday. And yes, the Ace Steel thing was worked out on Tuesday. It didn't break until Wednesday. By then it was fixed. By then it was settled. And that doesn't mean CM Punk is happy about it. Okay? Again, he's not racking up wins here like people think he is. Okay? He didn't want his own show. That's a consequence of his past behavior, that he has to be segregated and banished, to the island of miscontent toys on Saturdays. Okay? He wants Ace Steel back. He's not getting that. He's taking a lot of L's here, and he's doing so because he wants to come back and wrestle. So, as I said at the top, there seems to be this misconception that CM Punk just gets his way because he's the biggest star. And make no mistake, he's the biggest star, okay? And there are advantages to that. And they probably wouldn't be going through this much trouble for someone if they weren't the biggest star. But it's not as if he's just, bulldozing his way back into the picture and getting his way at every turn. That's not the case. Tony Khan is not the pushover that people think he is. And there were a lot of concessions that had to be made. And I'm not privy to all of them. I do know that he's not permitted, he's forbidden to talk about Brawl Out and all of the ensuing fallout from it, just like everybody else. And that was important to Tony, to get that down in writing, and I don't know what his original contract said, but if he's just going to be working on Saturdays now, I'm sure that all had to be worked out. Like, okay, you're coming to work Saturdays now, so we have to, readjust this contract and get other things down in writing. That's all this was. There were no legal threats. As soon as legal threats starts getting thrown around, people assume that CM Punk is sitting home with his arms folded, telling Tony Khan, fuck you, I'm not coming to work. And Tony Khan said, oh yeah, well, I'll show you, and I'm going to make my lawyer. It wasn't like that at any point. There was no threats, but it's just funny how these things get extrapolated into something that they're not, and maybe it's a matter of telephone game where there's a piece of documentation or something that CM Punk has to sign that says, okay, you have to come to work on Saturdays now. And then through telephone game, that turns into, it's a legal threat. Tony's telling him he has to come to work every. No, it's not that.
Well, and this entire thing, not to kind of interrupt, your thing, like we since last year, it's been a good versus evil, right versus wrong, elite. You know what I mean? Like, so it's always going to get twisted and turned and when it's like it's not that black and white. You know what I mean? It's not good versus evil. And everybody wants the very easy, obvious, Punk is bad. The elite are bad. Punk is good. The elite are good. It's like people want that neat, nice, tidy package. And it's just not that. There's been a little bit more give and take. There's been a little bit more of a gray area for both, parties involved in this. It's not good versus evil. It's not, you know what I mean? Like it's just not. And I know that it'd be a lot easier if it was. It'd be a lot easier if everybody 100% could agree, all right, Punk is in the wrong and everybody hates him, but it's just not, that's not the case. And you've kind of pushed back against that for months now, where everybody thinks that all the locker room hates CM Punk and all of them side with the Elite, when it's like, you know, there's camps. There's obviously people that side with both sides, but like you said, the great majority is just like, I don't know, go to work, you know, like whatever, let's wrestle, you know, put those boots on, you know, just let's do this. Let's make some money. Let's wrestle. Let's, you know, where most of them just don't really care that much. Or don't, even if they do care, they don't have a strict, well, I am on, you know, this side, and I am on, like we said, there's not this very obvious line in the sand, and every roster member has to decide which one they're on. It's just not the case. And I think that's similar with a lot of this stuff that you're talking about with the legalities and signing paperwork. Depending on which side you're on, you will read, you know, legal paperwork as, Tony is making CM Punk sign these so that he's not, you know, doesn't do this or this, or, CM Punk is being an asshole, so you know, now Tony Khan has to respond by sending the legal. It's just, you know what I mean? It's like people want to just take it in whatever direction they want to take it in, when it's just, sometimes it's just formality stuff that has to happen. But that's not sexy. That's not sexy to say, these things happen. You know, that you know, it needs to be salacious.
I mean, there's undoubtedly camps, and the biggest camp of all is the largest group of people that my impression is the largest group of people in that locker room are people who either see this as none of their business and truly don't care and are completely neutral, or they have opinions, but they just aren't going to share them. And from that standpoint, they just want to be told, okay, when am I coming to work? Who am I wrestling? Am I getting a push? All the things that wrestlers worry about.
I want to push. I want to be in the main event. It's what 95% of them want, is a push and to be in the main event and win the top titles.
Yeah. And that's not to suggest, look, there's people back there with Punk fatigue. Okay. And there's people back in that locker room who want nothing to do with CM Punk, namely the Young Bucks. They want nothing to do with CM Punk, to the point they refuse to communicate with him. And, you know, when he tried to communicate with them, he was told they didn't answer back. Their lawyers did. They don't want nothing to do with the guy. And you can understand where they're coming from.
For sure. And some people might take that as, the Young Bucks are being babies, but it's like, you know, you read the
guy beat the shit out of them. I mean, right. They don't want anything to do with him.
Right. They, you know, the guy said, knock on my door if you have a problem with me, after he told them they couldn't manage a target or whatever. So they knocked on his door, and then, you know, a fight ensued. He attacked him. So it's like, I get it, you know, his friend bit one of their friends.
We don't know what happened.
Yeah.
We don't know what happened in that room, but everyone seems to agree that the Punk side attacked.
Right. What we know is that Punk's, you know, went on his diatribe at the press conference, said, my door is always open. The Young Bucks said, all right, well, door's open. Let's see what we can do here. And then, well, something happened. And it's so I mean, because a lot of people, I think, then, you know, you talked about that in your timeline about, you know, the Punk camp, or Punk himself, has been trying to reach out, and the Bucks are just like, nah, man, we're good. You know, we don't want any of that. And that people are saying, now the Bucks are the man babies. And it's like, no, I mean, they are well in their right to say, no, we're good, man. We don't really want to talk to you.
Know, I want to address that, because a lot of people then said that I was kind of, now I'm being like a mouthpiece for Punk.
You're in the Punk camp. Punk. Are you in the Punk camp?
But the whole thing about that is, I can totally understand where the Bucks are coming from. But I have to tell you, if you want me to tell you what's happening, I'm just going to tell you what's really happening. That's what's really happening. I totally get where the Bucks are coming from, and maybe I wasn't strong enough in the
no, Joe,
solo audio.
Joe, people are going to find the way.
No, you're right.
They're going to find a thing, harp in, and then yes, Joe is now with the Punk camp. You know what I mean? It's like, it's always this. It's a black-white battle, good, evil. You can't, you know, there's no shades of gray in this for a lot of people, and it's just just come on, be an adult. It's fine. You know, it's and. You know, one of the other things too, and I don't know if you were going to get to this, but it just kind of sprung to my mind now, is a lot of people saying, you know, because you were talking about how, Joe's in the Punk camp now, Joe's so, you know, pro Punk or whatever, and like you said, that there's been concessions given on both ends, and it's not just Punk, you know, bending Tony over the over a barrel, and Tony being like, all right, yeah, we'll do whatever you want, as long as you come back to work or whatever. There's also, and you pointed this out, and I think you try to address this too, that like, this is also still a guy that fucked up whatever plan Warner Brothers had on their upfronts to announce this guy for the show. the day of the announcement said,
now, let me
hey,
make that clear. That was all Punk.
Yes.
Because he didn't want to be advertised for what he's telling people, kayfabe reasons, where he doesn't want people to know yet that he's going to be in Chicago. So yes, the embarrassing situation with the upfronts was, that's Punk. That's the black cloud. But anyway, keep going.
But just because people are like, oh, you're giving such a pro Punk side of this too, and it's like, no, that's not a pro Punk thing. Like Punk being particular enough about this to say, hey, you got to take me out of all that stuff. I don't want to be announced or whatever. That's a pretty big deal. You know what I mean? Like that caused, I'm sure, some. And we talked about it last week, Warner Brothers, kind of being like, oh, Jesus Christ. Okay. All right, fine. And then having to go in and change the press release and change some graphics and change this and change that. Like, that was annoying. But that, it's like, so it's not 100% Punk saying, hey, Tony, I'll do whatever you want, man, as long as I come back to work. Like, he's not as innocent in this because he's still CM Punk, he's still gonna do stuff. He's still gonna be in a pain in the ass or whatever. So I saw some people saying, oh, well, Joe's got such a rosy picture of Punk here, but then you listen to Dave and Brian and they're saying, oh, Punk's hard to work with and he's being difficult or whatever. It's hard to work with. It's both. It can be, this man is not an evil, conniving, guy petting his cat saying, ha ha ha, what can I do to Tony now? But also he can be a pain in the ass at the same time. Like you can be both. He can say, I want to come back to work. I whatever you want me to do, I'm down. Or let's get this thing back on track so I can come wrestle. And he can still also be a pain in the ass because he's CM Punk. So of course that's still going to be a part of it. So yeah, I just wanted to address that because I know again, good, evil, black, white. It has to be that all the time. But it's like, yeah, he is still CM Punk. He still had the Ace Steel thing happen on Tuesday. It got resolved quickly, like you said, but that still happened. The upfront thing still happened. Some things are gonna happen. It's like we know the clock is started. We're 7 days in without a Mount Brooks eruption, so that's good. But it's gonna hit a point where it's gonna erupt, and then we'll go, okay, reset the clock. Like that's going to happen. So yeah, I just wanted again for people not to think that it's like whatever you were hearing was like, oh, the Punk camp is telling Joe that CM Punk's the just the perfect model citizen here and doing whatever. It's not that. It's not, because he's still a pain in the ass because he's still CM Punk, and that's fine. Because that's. But yeah, it's just it's not as easy. You can't just put this in a tight, easy, good, bad, black, white thing. There's gonna be multitudes. There's gonna be shades of gray. All these things exist, especially with that, and it's gonna continue to go like this. Probably forever, because this is CM Punk. It's never going to be perfect with Punk. It's just never going to be.
Yeah,
perfect.
No, it isn't. No, it's the black cloud that we talk about.
Right, and the Bucks, I don't think they're ever going to let that go either. Like,
I from what I understand, I feel like they're just done with this man.
Yeah, I get it.
And if that's the case, now look, in wrestling, you can truly never say never, because then you haven't learned anything. If you know what I mean. But it's like, you do get the impression that this is one of those scenarios where they are just done with this human being and finished with him. The other thing is Punk fully recognizes that he was out of line at the presser and apologized to Khan for it. And in fact, has told people that he has described it as the worst day of his life to people. Okay. The presser, the fight, he feels like everyone needs to just get over it. That Punk feels like is just wrestling. You're gonna beat each other up sometimes. You're gonna throw some fists, and obviously the other side strongly disagrees with that mindset. So that's kind of like, that's another thing too. And I don't know how I feel about that. On one hand, I see where both sides are coming from. I mean, the thing about the AEW is there's been fights in that locker room that haven't been public, that no one has heard about, and there's been plenty of them, and it just happened. He's right that is wrestling. That just happens. I mean, there was that Shane Strickland Ricky Starks fight that nobody knew about until Shane Strickland and Ricky Starks chose to make it public on I think it was a podcast from Jericho's Boat, if I'm not mistaken. It may not have been from the Boat, but it was a Shane Strickland podcast or something, where those two guys, who have long since buried the hatchet, decided to make that fight public. There's others. There's many. It happens. It's wrestling. And it doesn't go public, and you don't hear about it. So on one hand, Punk isn't wrong that, all right, it's just the wrestling business. Guys fight sometimes. Let's just all get over it and make money. But on the other hand, from the other side, it's like you said before. This guy challenged them to come see him and work out their problems. They brought the AEW legal or HR, however you want to term it, with them. And then by all accounts, they're the ones that got attacked. So you could totally see why they're like, no, fuck this guy. We don't want anything to do with him. We won't work with him. Put him on Saturdays and keep him away from us. This guy's crazy, and I don't want nothing to do with him. So I see both. I see both sides, and that's not me, intentionally trying to play it down the middle. I just legitimately see both sides on that, and if they don't want to accept an apology from CM Punk, if they don't even want to talk to CM Punk, I don't think that's unreasonable. Does it make all of this messier and more difficult to untangle? And now you have to have shows on different days of the week where people are segregated from one another. I mean, yeah,
of course
it does.
That's a real pain in the ass. Yeah, nobody would want that. Everybody would probably be much happier if they got in a room and shook hands and said, "All right, let's go make some money." But that doesn't look like that's gonna be the case right now. So, all right, what else can we do?
Yeah, and I mean, and no one has explicitly told me that Punk was trying to contact the Bucks to apologize. He may have been calling them to apologize. But no one's explicitly told me that. But I do know that he tried to reach out to them, and that's been reported other places. But I mean, but they just don't want anything to do with him. I do know that he, in his perfect world, he'd just be wrestling on every day of the week and just doing business with everybody and turning all these things into angles and just moving on. But some of the people involved don't want to do that, and you can understand why they wouldn't want to. So, yeah, I mean. All throughout this, and I mean, ever since it happened, we and I have been accused of taking one side or the other. And I think that's a good thing, because that must mean that we're handling this in a fair way. We were pretty hard on Punk last week, because again, it just looked like a total mess, and it looked like he was at the center of it. He was at the center of it. The Ace Steel stuff.
Yeah, last week he was. The
last
upfronts in the Ace Steel.
Was,
the upfronts in the Ace Steel. Well, he was last week. Yeah.
Last Tuesday was a real shitty day for CM Punk and Tony Khan and everyone with the Ace Steel thing blowing up. But the Elite want nothing to do with that man, Ace Steel, and that just is what it is. And by Wednesday, I was told Punk and Khan were fine, and they've been fine since then. So now. Why did Khan slow roll the Chicago announcement? I don't know. Maybe he just wanted assurances in the form of those documents and NDAs before he was officially because he knows that once he says they're going to Chicago, that a lot of people are going to know what that means.
Right.
Coming back.
A lot of people have read into that of like, oh, why? It may have just simply been that week exhausted him, and he said, you know what? Let me see what the next 7 days. Let me see what the next 7 days have. We'll maybe send some legal docs over. We'll sign things. We'll talk a little bit more. Because I could understand on Wednesday, given all the stuff that happened that week and that day or whatever, I could absolutely see being like, jeez, I wouldn't be confident. Maybe you had a good conversation on Wednesday with the guy, but given what had happened the prior day. 7 days is not maybe and look what happened. Nothing. Nothing happened in the last 7 days, and now maybe everybody feels a little bit more confident to say, okay, let's announce this now. Because once we announce this, yes, the cat's out of the bag. You're doing it. You're selling tickets to the show. Everybody knows what you're selling tickets to. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Like we all know what's going on now. And I could see on last Wednesday not really necessarily thinking that you were fully confident enough to do that yet. Whereas 7 days without interruption on Mount Brooks or whatever, and now it's like, okay, I feel a little bit better now. Let's do it. So I absolutely, totally see that.
Yeah. So, anyway, that's some of the stuff that we weren't, last week with, the benefit of 7 more days and some more information coming out and all that. And, like you said, it's in more detail on the review. I forget what I titled it. The Punk timeline.
The Punk timeline.
Like that.
Yeah. Nice and simple. The Punk timeline.
So, it's there if people want to do 40 more minutes of this. A lot, I know a lot of listeners have the Punk fatigue. I mean, it can be exhausting, and there's definitely people in that company who have it, and there's people who just want nothing to do with Punk, and there's a small contingent of people who don't like the Bucks specifically, maybe not necessarily the Elite. There's a large group of people who are just completely agnostic and just want to come to work. So, here we go. And, a byproduct of that is going to be the unfortunate people who truly don't have a dog in the fight, who get booked on either Wednesdays or Saturdays and then get labeled a Punk guy or an Elite guy by the crazy fans that are on the opposite ends of the spectrum, and I feel bad for those people, because it's like, Sky Blue or whoever ends up being on Saturdays, and then, the Elite fans, or the opposite, where it's like, someone ends up working Wednesdays, Action Andretti or something, and then the crazy Punk fans are like, oh, he must be an Elite guy. It's like, these are just people that want to earn a living. I think for the most part, we understand who the people are who are firmly on one side or the other. And it's really not as many as people think. I mean, it really isn't. I mean, is it any secret that FTR Bald is firmly entrenched in the Punk camp?
You sure?
Is it any secret that Brandon Cutler tends to side with the Elites? I mean, so it's like, and then there's, it's like, and then there's people who may get along with CM Punk, but they don't have anything against the Elite necessarily. And it's just, I think that's one unintended consequence of sort of, if they go through with this roster split, which based on Tony Khan's media call today, it's happening, because he didn't want to talk about it. And, he didn't deny it. He just refused to discuss it. He's attempting to trademark the transfer portal. I mean, we see what's happening here. Okay. I think this is going to be a firmer, harder, don't clip that, roster split than anybody even may have thought previously, just based on, putting clues together. So, it's sort of this internal culture war among the fans. And I think some of the wrestlers might get caught in the crossfire to some degree, but that's wrestling fans. It's how they've always been. So, I kind of feel bad for some of the talent that might happen to, but I don't know. Anything else on Punk?
Nah, I got
questions, comments.
No, just it's happening, and that's good. I'm glad it's going to make I think it's going to make things a little bit more excited. And as of today and yesterday, he seems like he posted a photo of him on Instagram. He hasn't fully logged off and gotten to work like I instructed him to do last week, but seems like he's going to work. I don't know if he's fully logged off, but he posted a photo of him listening to Rancid's song Collision Course. So yeah, another wink.
Who did that? Punk
did that. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, listen, if anyone didn't think Punk was, I was going to say all in, but that's like, it's like no pun intended or whatever. As soon as he put out that Instagram post where he was talking about, oh, I have a wedding anniversary to get ready for in June, like, he's telling you he's coming back. You know what I mean? Like, this isn't subtle. Okay. And again, he never intended not to come back. He wants back. That's the thing. I don't know who needs to hear this, or if there's people who think that like Tony Khan is on his hands and knees begging this guy to come back. This guy wants to come back, and I maybe we take for granted that people know that, right? But maybe they don't. He's wanted to come back the whole way, and there's certain things that he had to make some concessions, and he had to take some L's in order to do so. And here we are, and now it appears the stage is set.
Collision course. We're on the collision course for Collision, which, by the way, tickets did go on sale today for the United Center, the first date, obviously Saturday, June 17th at the United Center in Chicago. Now, as far as what's going on with the ticket sales, a little weird. So WrestleTix, who obviously does a fantastic job keeping up with ticket sales and covering it at WrestleTix on Twitter. Also, I believe patreon.com/WrestleTix as well. Initially, when the seat map came out, a lot of the work that WrestleTix does is through the Ticketmaster seat maps and whatnot. Seat maps came out. You had a huge area in the upper deck. You had looked like the hard cam side, they weren't selling any tickets. The entranceway area, they weren't selling any tickets. They basically wanted to do against the hard cam around. They basically not necessarily half the arena, but maybe just a little under half the arena available for sale. And then it looked like a lot of tickets got sold in that 200 level and the 100 level. And then a few hours later, the upper deck tickets were not available anymore. So there was a ton of upper deck tickets available. Then they weren't. And then there were more tickets available in the 200 level. So it looks like they were kind of playing around with this a little bit. I don't know if we're going to have full ideas of what exactly happened with the United Center ticket sales just yet. It might take a few more days. And as of this recording on the 25th, we don't know. I mean, it didn't look like tickets. Yeah, it looks like ticket sales were healthy, but as far as like how healthy, we don't know, because it looks like they were kind of playing around with what sections to be available, what sections we're going to put up on these pre-sales, what sections we're going to let people buy. Because like right now you go on there and you can't buy any upper deck tickets, where when the first went on sale, you could buy upper deck tickets. So I don't know. The United Center thing, I thought we'd have a little bit more clarity as of this recording. Right now, we really don't as of us going live right now. So I don't know. It's hard to say with the United Center. Did you get a read on anything going on with the United Center sales or?
Yeah, I think they sold over 4,000 tickets or something, and that's all Punk and people assuming Punk is going to be there. And I'm not even really when they announce CM Punk on TV and it's official, that building's going to sell out. I don't have any doubt. I'd be very surprised if it didn't. And if it doesn't, then in Chicago, of all places, returning after all this controversy and after 9, 10, however many months it's been, then maybe there is deeper Punk fatigue among the fan base than people suspect. I can tell you this. Everybody expects him to get mixed reactions at best when he returns.
Yeah.
Even possibly in Chicago, where they think he'll get cheered, but there's going to be contingents.
Yeah.
Of
I was at a show.
fans.
I was at that show around, Thanksgiving, and it was the Elite were there, and they got, if you watch All Access, the idea is like 100% of the crowd was booing the Elite and booing the Young Bucks. That was not the case at all. I mean, were there more people booing the Young Bucks? Probably, but it was, I don't know. It wasn't 50-50, but I don't know, maybe closer to 60-40 in terms of people, booing the Bucks to cheering the Bucks. I mean, it was, and in Chicago, there was a guy next to me that was like, whoa, unbelievable. I didn't think anybody would, boo CM Punk in Chicago. A lot of people were pretty surprised by that. So yeah, I think anybody that thinks he's going to come out to 100% heroes welcome, I think they're going to be surprised. But I don't think it's going to be 100% boos either. It's going to be mixed for sure.
And they know that. And in some of the other cities, he's going to get booed out of the buildings. He's going to go heel, and he's going to go heel very quickly. Okay, because they understand, and he understands. Everybody involved understands how he's going to be reacted to. I mean, it's all Elite wrestling. Okay, there's a lot of Elite fans, and they're rabid, and this guy's an enemy for life. So, and there's a lot of people with the Punk fatigue, and a lot of people who see him as the bad guy in this entire scenario, and rightfully so when you behave that way at the presser and everything else. And so he'll very quickly, if not immediately, be presented as heelish, if not a full-on heel on television. You jinxed me, by the way, when you talked about my
I know,
cough,
I feel
which
bad
was gone
because you've
for
coughed
months.
like 3 times already this show. Sorry. I apologize.
It was gone for months. And then you talked about it last week, and now here we go. And so they're aware of that. But the other Collision tickets are advances are awful, and I think some of that is. I think there's a lot of reasons for that. I think number one, we take it for granted that everybody's kind of locked into this stuff. People don't know what the fuck Collision is, especially maybe some of these places like Regina, fucking Canada. Once people, I think, realize what it is, and they see that CM Punk is back and that he's the centerpiece of the show, and that a couple of these air, and they see that it's not, a Rampage redo where you're getting what amounts to a B or C show, I think those tickets will go. It's obviously concerning that the advances are so poor pretty much everywhere. But again, I think that's just maybe people don't understand what they're getting into or what this is going to be or who's going to be there. And when they get some clarity on that, because really a lot of these advances mirror when Rampage is on a standalone night is what it looks like to me. And in some cases, even a little worse. And you can't blame AEW fans for feeling that way, because as we've talked about a million times, other than Dynamite, any new venture or show that they've rolled out has quickly or in some cases not so quickly, in the case of Rampage, that was more of a slow erosion, have turned into something that doesn't feel meaningful. So, I mean, that's a self-fulfilled prophecy, honestly. I mean, if people don't trust that Collision is going to be a big deal until you prove it to them, you know, that's, we were told Battle of the Belts was going to be a big deal, and Rampage was not going to be a B show, and you go right down the line, and Dark Elevation is going to be this new, I've got this great concept for Dark, and then it was, and then it wasn't within a month. That was over. And
Ring of Honor,
you know, so,
Ring of Honor. We're looking at it right now.
Ring of Honor has 19 matches tonight, Rich. And look, I understand.
It feels like too many, Joe. I'm going to go on a limb, and that seems like too many matches for me personally. But
you know, I understand that they're emptying the can from the Universal tapings because they want to get right to the Vegas tapings next week. I understand that. And Khan even said that on the presser. I believe he even explained that, look, we've got 19 matches because we're burning everything off that we taped in Universal. First of all, that's poor planning, isn't it?
Right.
I mean, but that's beside the point, right? Like, it shouldn't have come to this, but I understand. Okay, you want to burn off all those matches. You have the luxury of airing this stuff on your own service to where you're not beholden to commercials or set time frames or anything like that. And you know, so you have this luxury of being able to, if we want to burn everything off in one shot and do 19 matches in one night, we can do that. Khan himself said on the presser, look, this is longer than I'd like it to be, but we want to get to the stuff that we're filming in Vegas next week. I understand that. But even with that said, when you look at these 19 matches, so many of them are pointless. And that's the problem with Ring of Honor. They had a great week last week, maybe the best week of Ring of Honor that there's been to this point, right? They come back this week with this, what really is two shows mashed together. But even if they were two separate shows, number one, it's still too many matches. You don't need 9-10 matches on these things. They don't need to be over 2 hours or whatever. Number two, a lot of these matches are pointless. We don't need all these matches with enhancement talent. And the vast majority of these 19, that's what they are. When you look at these 19 matches, how many of them are matches that you can look at and truthfully say to yourself, that's a coin flip. I don't know who's going to win. 2 or 3 of them, maybe, if you're being generous. I don't need the enhancement crew coming in. These lower mid-carders that you have can just wrestle each other. The matches are more compelling anyway. It's not the end of the world if Kiera Hogan takes a loss. I mean, what are we doing here? Okay, we don't need all these matches. We don't need all these enhancement matches. We don't need these little 5-minute matches where we're putting over all the lower mid-carders. Let them beat each other. But that's neither here nor there. But again, your point, you know, look at Ring of Honor, you know, and that's another example. So I get it if there's hesitancy to jump all over these Collision tickets before people see what it's going to be. With that said, I think that when people do see what Collision is, because you know they're going to come out of the gate strong with it. They came out of the gate strong with Rampage. They're going to come out of the gate strong with Collision. I'm going to keep it at arm's length because you have to, based on history. But it's going to look like a big deal and a huge show. It's going to have a bunch of huge angles. I've been told some of the pitches that have been going around, and they've got some wild stuff planned. Although it's not all going to happen, I'm sure some of it will. Hard resets on a lot of the characters and gimmicks that I've heard kicked around, and I'm sure, again, they're not all going to happen, but some of them will. So it's going to feel like a exciting show that's a big deal, that has the biggest star in the company. And at that point, I do think in a lot of these cities, the ticket sales are going to immediately show improvement at that point. That's what my gut is telling me. What do you think?
Yeah, so I tend to agree a little bit, but I do know, and I don't know if you read Griffin Peltier, who wrote a great piece for us at voicesofwrestling.com, all about, you know, this Canadian tour, especially the Canadian swings of this tour, and looking at, you know, ticket prices and just a lot of stuff that also probably plays into why these things aren't really selling as well. And I think this is a big reason why a lot of AEW in general, not just as Canada swing, but a lot of the recent, you know, over the last, I don't know, last 6-7 months or whatever, it seems like ticket sales in AEW have slowed a little bit, because when you look at the raw numbers and you look at tickets available and tickets sold and all that sort of stuff, you look and you're like, it's kind of, this is not exactly, because they were selling out buildings. I mean, they were left and right selling these things out and doing really good numbers and overall numbers, and people looking at, oh man, are they slowing down? Are they getting, you know, whatever the reason may be. But a lot of that was, and a lot of people noticed it too, that the ticket prices increased a lot over the last couple of years. Now, was that just, over the last year or so in particular? Now, was that just AEW deciding, you know what, let's get more dollars per head? Yeah, maybe the buildings will have a little bit of, some sections here and there that aren't full, but we're going to get more dollars per head or whatever. Or, costs have risen. So to get back to, into the black, we're going to have to, raise these. I don't know. I don't know the reasons. I don't know exactly the reasons, but it's been pretty noticeable that ticket prices for AEW have gone up a little bit. And I don't know if that's 100% the reason why ticket sales have stalled a little bit. I think a multitude of reasons, no Punk and a messy fall and a messy spring, have maybe caused that as well. But no, it's these particular shows in Canada. And like I said, Griffin did a really good job of breaking it down of it might not simply be that Collision is just kind of this mystery to a lot of people still, which is absolutely true. It absolutely is. If you're not in this thing day in and day out, you have no earthly idea what Collision is. And he even brought up a good point too, that if you're in Canada, you don't even know how to watch Collision yet. There's been no announcement of how you're going to be able to watch Collision. So you're being sold this show. You don't know what the hell this thing is. And before Wednesday, you didn't really know if Punk was ever going to be on these shows. They when they released, the upfronts and they said, hey, this new show is happening. Who were the names? It was Andrade, Powerhouse Hobbs, Miro, like Thunder Rosa. It wasn't exactly a murderer's row of people that I was like, oh man, Miro's going to be there. I got to buy my tickets. So I think all these things kind of play into it. And I'm with you that I think that maybe it'll be better to look at these numbers in a couple of weeks. It might be better to see what these numbers are after the Punk show, but with that said, they're going to Scotiabank Arena on June 24th, and as of right now, they've sold 1,683 tickets. So there's 1,762 available. So less than 50% of the tickets have been sold. Also, the current setup is only 3,445 people for Scotiabank Arena, giant basketball arena, giant hockey arena. Kind of interesting, that they even haven't opened up a ton of tickets for that show. You go back on the next week, they're doing a Thursday taping already. 2 weeks in, they're doing a Thursday show for Collision, Thursday, June 29th, from the First Ontario Center in Hamilton. That one, the current setup is 3,083. They've sold 646 tickets to that. There are still 2,437 available. That's from WrestleTix, the data that's available publicly right now on the 25th, by the way. So that they've sold 646 tickets. They still have 2,437 left to go for a pretty small setup of just 3,083. And then you go to July 8th, where they're in Regina, Saskatchewan, Joe. Tickets distributed 1,305. So that one's doing okay. That one's more than 50% sold. Still 985 tickets, but the setup is only 2,290. So again, they're not asking for we're not putting 10,000 people in these arenas. We're selling thousands tickets, 600 tickets, 1,000 tickets. And then you have Saturday, July 22nd, Prudential Center in Newark. So now you're in America again. And that one's doing pretty good. That one has sold 3,731 tickets, and there's still 1,105 available for the setup of 4,836. So that one's not too bad. That one's pretty okay. And that might speak to a lot of what Griffin's saying, where, the prices in Canada are a little bit extreme and people in Canada are just like, I don't really know what this thing is or why we have to care about this. But I don't know. It's those numbers aren't good, but it's also could be a factor of a lot of different things that might be corrected over the next couple of weeks. And it'll be interesting to see when the shows actually arrive, what those crowds look like and what the buildings look like and just the energy of Collision too. I think that's, to me, one of the biggest questions that I have about this Collision. And we talked about it a little bit last week. If you're looking for where the potential, Mount Brooks eruption can come, does this guy want to be on a show that might get 400,000 viewers and be in an arena that's got 2,000 people in it in Hamilton, Ontario? Because that's not an unrealistic possibility, both of those things playing out.
No. It's a fair question.
I don't know. Yeah, like is he just like, hey, whatever happens, I'm just here to go to work? Because Collision's going to have weeks, and that initial week, that Chicago week, is going to do well. We all know it's going to do well, just like the Rampage did. It's going to do well, and it's going to cause a lot of bad faith, discussions about Collision ratings moving forward. for the rest. Rampage, it just stopped like 6 months ago, the annoying conversations about Rampage. But for a year straight, people kept looking at that one number and going, oh my God, they started here and now look at them. They're all the way down here or whatever. When all of us knew that, well, it's not exactly, I mean, okay, fine. But whatever. This Collision thing is, I think, going to be somewhat similar. But I really, that's to me, the biggest thing is like, you sort of said there, will it remain a quote unquote A show? Will it remain an important show? It fills in now. Rampage, Tony would fight back when you said it was a B show. Okay, it's 1A and whatever. It's A and 1A. Okay, fine, sure, whatever. Like with Rampage, and we all knew it was a B show, and then it ended up being a B show. Collision, you can't really. I mean, I think if Punk is gonna be there and that's gonna be his show, quote unquote, the thing's got to feel important for a long time, right? It's got to be important. It needs to be important, and it needs to, I think, draw well. It needs to sell good tickets, because then there could be a big issue with Punk. I don't know. I don't know if it's people looking at Punk and saying, oh, geez, all this work for this? Like, all this work and all this rigmarole for this guy, and this is what we have is 300,000 viewers, and, we're selling 1,000 tickets to these little arenas. I don't know.
I think I still remain bullish on CM Punk being a ticket mover. But maybe the company isn't. I mean, they've got Prudential Center set up for under 5,000 fans.
That's what I'm saying. Those setups are strange to me. I
fucking hockey arena.
Yeah.
I mean, but forget Punk. Set Punk aside. What about Tony Khan? Is Tony Khan going to remain interested and energetic about a show that's doing a fraction of the viewership of Dynamite? Because he certainly didn't remain interested and energetic about Rampage. And so there's that factor as well. Now, we all know it's going to be a ton of effort at the start. He alluded to Bryan Danielson on the media call today, and I think there's already been a public report somewhere that Danielson's going to be heavily involved in the Collision booking or creative or whatever you want to call it. But that was something else I was told during the course of the week. In fact, I think it was Fightful that put that out there, if I'm not mistaken. I do think that's out there. If not, I just put it out there. So, there's going to be a lot of effort at first. But again, we've all seen this movie before. And you make a good point. If it's just a show that a couple 100,000 people are watching, forget Punk. The Punk's kind of stuck because he can't go to Wednesdays.
Right. Right.
He doesn't really have a choice. But Tony Khan can lose interest the way that he has lost interest in other shows before, the way that Vince McMahon has always historically lost interest in shows that aren't Monday Night Raw or SmackDown. So these are all fair questions. I don't know. And it's going to be challenging going up against college football. It's going to be challenging going up against the NFL late in the NFL season. When they have Saturday games, you're just going to get slaughtered.
Yeah,
against the NFL.
NBA starts to throw once college football and the NFL end. The NBA then starts putting marquee games on Saturday nights too. Once football gets out of the way, the NBA says, "Okay, cool, now we can go on Saturdays again." People try on Saturdays. There's a lot of good primetime sports television on Saturdays, and now they're adding to that, which is for Warner. If you're Warner, you're probably thinking, "Hey, you know what? If we can get 300,000, 400,000 people to watch." Fine, that's okay. That's good for us, but internally, is that good for them?
The thing is, here's the thing. I would love to have asked that question today, and I was prepared to, but you've got to get called on in order to ask the question.
Well,
but I'd like to know.
Did you have a question about Willow Nightingale instead? Because that might have gotten you on.
Well, the Willow Nightingale. That's funny because the Willow Nightingale questions clearly agitated Tony Khan to the point where I felt he got a little defensive about.
Not a little.
He
got very defensive. I don't know if a little.
Yeah, the audio's there. If you want to listen to it, but he decided because I think he is sort of felt he had to fight back the idea that New Japan Pro Wrestling is pushing her and he's not pushing her in her own home promotion. And there was a lot of defensiveness there and a lot of, it was my idea to send her there, and I'm the one who pitched her to Rocky and Gato, and I'm the one who, and I'm glad, because I do have plans for her. And there was seemed to be a lot of defensiveness there. And I guess you picked up on it too. So, No, I wouldn't have had the 19th different Willow Nightingale question. I'm glad people are excited about Willow Nightingale because she's clearly a rising star. But geez, we don't need 19 Willow Nightingale questions.
Right. Maybe ask about Warner Brother expectations for their brand new show and
what the rating expectation is.
Right.
And yeah, put it, or, I totally get it. And I do understand, but it is a little weird that the name CM Punk was not said once on that entire media call by any person on it. Either Tony Khan, Jim Woodcock, any of the media members. Now from a media standpoint, I'm going to be completely honest with our listeners. Okay. I didn't get called on again. But I didn't have my usual question loaded in the chamber of, does CM Punk have an ownership stake or any points in any facet of the business? I was going to ask that because I think, like a lot of the other media people, we all know that any question involving CM Punk until CM Punk is announced officially on television is going to be met with, I can't comment on that, with no further elaboration. And do you really want to burn your only question on not just a non-answer? As we've talked about, non-answers can be answers, but the CM Punk non-answers are truly non-answers. They're just nothing because he refuses to speak about the man. Now, when he's back on TV, he's going to have to talk. He can't give you that anymore. So even my thought process was, well, I got to come up with another question if I get called on. And it was going to be what the ratings expectations were, which nobody got around to asking. But, so while it was kind of weird that CM Punk never got brought up, I also kind of get it. Do you really want to burn your shot? Because, Rich, they unmute you, you ask your question, they mute you, and you're done.
Right. And Woodcock, even at the beginning, said, you're only going to get one question. We have a lot of people that need to get questions, so ask your question, then you got to go. So,
yeah, no follow-ups, no two-parters. It's not like we're in the room with them. It's not like the scrums where you're going to get another crack. Or you can just keep talking. Like if you get, if you ask about CM Punk and he says, well, I can't comment on that, you can rephrase it and just yell something else out. You can't do that on these media calls that are set up like a conference call. You get one crack at it and you're done. You're turned off. So on one hand, while it is kind of inexcusable that CM Punk's name was never uttered on this thing, and Bill Pritchard of WrestleZone did tap dance around it the best he could. He
certain talents. I forget
Punk.
he said certain talents or whatever. I forget what the exact phrasing was, but yeah, he tried. He
almost said CM Punk 2 or 3 times and caught himself. And then eventually asked the question, which was not about Punk, but really was directly about Punk without being directly about Punk. Anyway, I forgot what we were talking about. So that's
I was just talking about, in terms of rate, like internally versus externally. Yeah. Warner Brothers is probably like, hey, you know what? 300,000 viewers on Saturday when we were just going to air some stupid rerun of a movie that people have seen 1,000 times. That's fine for us. You know what I mean? That's cool. That's fine. Especially with the news that we did get that it wasn't an extension or any new deal, that Collision is just being added onto the previous television deal, which I guess we should touch on here in a little bit. As well.
That's good. I'm glad you brought that up. So Thurston asked about the new TV deal, and we did learn something new. Khan said that it in terms of the length of the deal, that hasn't changed. The only thing that changed, the only thing that was negotiated was the addition of the 2-hour Collision show, which he said was the suggestion of WBD. They wanted more content and came to AEW asking for more content. Then they sat at the table and figured it out. But the newsworthy part of that, I guess that's newsworthy too. But the other nugget out of that quote was that, and I'm not quoting it directly, was that the length of the term hasn't changed. So they're obviously getting more money. Okay. WBD's not going to come to them and say, give us 2 more hours of content. All right, pay us. No. All right, we'll do it anyway. Like that's it, they're getting paid for this show.
Of course.
But we still don't know how much. And the other question that we still don't have an answer for, and this is why it would be helpful if you could do follow, because I know Brandon would have followed up appropriately. We don't know if they ever picked up the option, because there's the option year at the end of this year where, and that question has never been answered. Khan refused to answer that the last time he was asked on a call. And this time it's just, again, that's a perfect example. Brandon Thurston, he's got one shot to ask one question. You got to pick your spot. You can't ask them all, and unfortunately, no one else. You would have liked to have seen someone else follow up with more questions about the TV deal, but he did. So we were more interested in the third question about Willow Nightingale. It's like,
right, yeah.
And no disrespect to Willow Nightingale, but when one person asks, we're done with Willow Nightingale. For God's sake.
All right, scratch your Willow Nightingale question. Somebody else already asked about her. You come in with your next question, but it is what it is. But yeah, it's that to me is going to be one of the more interesting things to see as Collision gets going is, internally, how happy are they? Internally, how interested are they? And then, how interested is CM Punk in being on a show? That show's gonna have to be as a show as you could possibly be. You know what I mean? Like if Punk's gonna be a part of that, and he's gonna be a top, tippy top star, you got to make sure that thing is kicking ass, and you got to make sure he feels like it's kicking ass, and it feels like, and he feels like he's a part of something interesting. I don't think the guy wants to be toiling around, in 1,000 seat, arenas with 300,000 people watching on Saturdays or whatever with this Island of Misfit Toys, or I forget what the hell malcontents or whatever the hell you called it or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. That is what I'm so more interested in, and so interested in finding out, what's going to happen as that goes on. But we won't know anything until that first week. Throw that first week out. The second week maybe you'll know, but it's going to be something that like in 2 months' time or a month's time we'll have a better idea. Okay, here's where Collision is. Is it going to go down the same course that Rampage went, or is it going to be something completely different? Because it's right now it feels like it's going to be different, but then you look at the ticket sales, you look at some of these things, and it's like, I don't know. People feel like this is just yet another B show right now so far.
They do. And again, I'm not ready. You seem a little more on the ledge than I am about it, because I think when they announce Punk, a lot of this stuff will change. I want to reassess the temperature when Punk is official.
Right.
That's so I'm gonna hold out until then and then get another read. If Punk is official, and Chicago doesn't sell out, and Hamilton, Ontario, is still sitting at 1,000 tickets or something. And, it's also possible that some of these towns are just going to do bad houses because that's just what happens. And maybe some of the other ones will do well once Punk is announced. And maybe they'll find out that Hamilton, Ontario just isn't one of their towns. That's entirely possible too. It's weird, like you said, that they're doing this on a Canadian swing. That's weird. It also suggests that maybe all of this did come together kind of late in the game and at the behest of Warner Brothers Discovery. And this just happened to be what the tour schedule looked like. And I don't know. I don't know any of those things. But, the bottom line, these advances, not good.
No. So there you go. That is Collision and CM Punk. So, again, WrestleTix, thank them for the data on all of that. But let's get to, you want to preview this? AEW Double or Nothing coming up this Sunday. Going to be, I think, a still, build aside, and we'll touch on the build and in this preview. But, overall build aside, I'm not betting against an AEW pay-per-view. Like, that's a bad bet to take. I mean, we always come out of the Instant Reaction Lives, immediately following the shows, and pretty much every single time, and very frequently we come on and go like, holy crap, what a show that was. And a couple of times we've said, holy crap, that's one of the greatest shows of all time. I don't think I'm ready to bet on AEW Double or Nothing 2023 to be one of the best shows of all time, but I don't know. Who knows? I mean, betting against them is not a good idea, and they very often, more often than not, have been very, very good. So yeah, I'm not in love with a lot of the build of the matches, and I'm not in love with a lot of the matches as I read them on paper, but all in all, I think it's still going to be a pretty spectacular show because there's a few matches that stand out as like, okay, yeah, that's going to kick ass. But I don't know. This one is almost more of a mixed bag than any that I can remember in recent memory, where it's like, even on paper, I'm like, there's a few matches that don't really excite me on paper. Whereas, some of these we preview and it's like, yeah, I haven't loved the bill, but man, this looks like a great card. I don't know. What's your overall temperature on Double or Nothing?
It's the same. I mean, it doesn't look like a great card on paper, but this is an AEW pay-per-view and they always land. So why would you ever, I'm not going to be the fool that comes on here and rants and raves about how the card doesn't look great and how the build hasn't been great for the vast majority of the matches and how the television went through a rough period during the build to this pay-per-view, and tell you that this pay-per-view isn't going to be good. How you cannot, like you said, bet against these AEW shows. I have to see this show shit the bed before I believe that it's going to. So even though I'm not thrilled with the lineup, I could also see how a lot of these matches that I'm not exactly jacked up for could easily end up being pretty great. Like, I'll give you an example. I'm not excited about Chris Jericho versus Adam Cole. I'm just not. I have no feelings towards that match at all. Could I see that being great? Of course. Of course. Could I see us ranting and raving how great that was on Sunday night?
Of course. Absolutely.
On a live instant reaction? You know,
that happens.
That
has happened with me and Adam Cole for like 7 years. Where if go back and listen to any Flagship over the last 7 years, I promise you, we're previewing an Adam Cole match, and I'm like, I don't know. And then we review it, and I'm like, that was pretty damn good, because that's how Adam Cole. I'm never interested in Adam Cole, but he's almost always pretty damn good. So yeah, I'm positive that match is going to be way better than I think it's going to be. Or way over deliver to my expectations. I'm nearly positive of it, because yeah, those guys, you know, especially Adam Cole, I tend to do that a lot with Adam Cole.
I like him better as a heel. His promo and the contract signing last night didn't do anything for me. I thought it was kind of corny. I think he comes off kind of like a cornball.
No,
baby
for
face.
sure. Yeah.
So he doesn't excite me as a face. And you know, Jericho's Jericho. I don't mind Jericho. Everybody hates Jericho seemingly. Except the fact that he gets monster reactions in every building and all his quarter hours do well. Everybody hates him.
Right.
But you know, on paper, you know, look, it's an unsanctioned match. You're going to do a bunch of wild shit. Sabu's going to be flying around. I don't know what the fuck this is, but it's probably going to end up being something that exceeds my expectations greatly. Jericho's not going to look. You put him in this environment where he has free reign and, you know, and Cole, you know, like you said, always over delivers, you know, but I wasn't crazy about the build to this thing. And I'm not crazy about Cole the babyface. The problem is I get the impression he's going to win this match and win this feud. You know, Chris Jericho always beating everybody, Rick.
Of course.
It's the biggest load of shit in wrestling is that Chris Jericho.
The heat vampire Chris Jericho. He just, you know,
biggest
hot young babyface. Let me bite him and take all of his heat.
Except he never wins.
He never wins. He never bites anybody. But other than that, yeah.
I would argue he doesn't win enough. I would genuinely make that argument.
Yeah, I don't know. I honestly, truly don't think he is pushed enough. I don't think, like you say, win enough. I don't think he's pushed enough. I think they could do more with Chris Jericho. Because he has a ton of cachet. Anyway, but anyway, go on.
He's going to lose again. And I feel like Cole is on his way to an MJF feud. So, you know, I think we're going to get more of this babyface Cole, not less. I really thought that they brought back Cole as a babyface because they didn't have a choice, because they knew he was going to get cheered for overcoming the concussion and just because Big Star is back. You know, the old thing where you bring him back as a face and then you quickly like what they're probably about to do with CM Punk. Basically, as I thought what they were going to do with Cole. But it looks like this babyface thing is a long-term thing for him. So, I don't know. Any other thoughts on this match?
No, not much else. I did want to let people know, if you want to order this outside of the United States, make sure you use our link, voicesofwrestling.com/fight. By the way, if you're, again, outside of the United States on Fight, voicesofwrestling.com/fight. It's also available pay-per-view, BR Live, and movie theaters as well. Never done the... Would you ever do a movie theater? Would you ever go to a movie theater, Joe, to watch a wrestling pay-per-view, or no? Because I feel like I want to, but then I feel like an hour in, I'm going to be like, yeah, I kind of just wish I was at my house instead, so...
Nah, I watched Cain Velasquez beat Brock Lesnar in UFC at a movie theater.
Okay, and did you have a good time?
It was a lot of fun because... you know, we could have just ordered it at home, but you know, I had some friends and we were like, well, they're doing the theater thing. Let's try it, you know? And it was better because it's almost like a mini arena experience.
Right.
People are popping for things.
Yeah.
And, yeah. So it definitely increased our interest level in the show, because it's like, it's more interactive because you're in a crowd. You're in a crowd. It's just on a screen instead of actually in front of you. So, I mean, if someone's out there and they're doing this in a theater, I mean, the one experience I had with it was positive.
And he gets to eat some popcorn too, which is pretty sweet. So better snacks than what I have in my house. But anyway, let's get to the rest of this Double or Nothing. By the way, we are doing Instant Reaction Live. We'll plug that a little bit more at the end. But if you're listening to this, yes, Instant Reaction Live coming up immediately following Double or Nothing on Sunday. $10 tier, patreon.com/voices of wrestling. We'll plug that again at the end. So, all right, let's go through the rest of this card here. Speaking of matches that I have zero interest in, and a match that I don't think, as opposed to Adam Cole and Chris Jericho, which I do think will over deliver on my expectations. I already want this match hasn't started, and I already want it to end. It is Ethan Page and the Guns versus the Hardys and Hook. But get this, Joe, if the Hardys win, Matt Hardy will own Ethan Page's contract. I can't wait to figure out what's going to happen with that one.
Yeah,
how are they going to get out of this pickle?
I have no interest in this story, haven't at any point. Now, this is on the buy-in, to be fair.
Correct.
So,
thank God. I'm going to skip the. You know when you're going to ask me, did you watch the pre-show? If this is on the pre-show, I am not going to watch the pre-show. So,
yeah, I mean, it's hard to have any interest in this. I mean, but again, the Hardys, get used to them, because as long as Jeff stays on the straight and narrow, and look, I'm not going to make any jokes. I hope he does for himself and for the sake of anybody that has to share a road with him. I mean, I'm not doing a bit. I hope Jeff Hardy is fucking cured, okay? But as long as he stays on the straight and narrow, you're going to get more Hardy Boys too, because I don't know, Tony might want to see that plan through, where they were going to win the AEW tag team titles, which was the plan before Jeff got derailed again. So I don't know. It's a pre-show match. I don't care about it. And I don't have nothing else to say.
I got zero to say about that one. We should go back to Cole and Jericho. Guest referee / enforcer Sabu.
Yeah, I talked about Sabu a little. Now, look, if Sabu keeps putting pictures of the lines of coke that he's blowing on social media,
he might
is
not
that
make
real,
it.
or was that real, though?
I don't know, but it's Sabu, so probably, I don't know.
If it's real, and listen, we're doing this show live as that tweet went out, or the Instagram post or whatever, so it might be fabricated or something, but I mean, this guy might blow the shot before, we got 3 more days before the pay-per-view. Can this guy get there is the question with Sabu.
So I think if I remember correctly, that's an old photo that's maybe making the rounds again.
Okay.
So
it's a meme.
I think it's a meme and it's an older photo. But with that said, did Sabu do coke after he appeared on AEW? Very possible. Will Sabu do something before Sunday? Very possible. But at least in this instance, I feel like I if I remember correctly, that's an old photo that's making the rounds. So people are trying to cancel Sabu again. You cannot cancel the uncancelable in Sabu. So
you can't cancel Sabu.
People are trying to cancel Sabu since 1993. People have been trying to cancel Sabu. Not going to happen.
Yeah, listen, you can't cancel Sabu. You can't cancel Joe Lanza. Just stop trying. It's impossible. You can't stomp us out. Anyway, what's next here?
Yeah, I think I'd feel a little more confident if Double or Nothing wasn't in Las Vegas that Sabu would make the town. But hopefully there's, he's got the Dennis Rodman had that Jack Haley guy that would hang around with him all the time. Hopefully Sabu's got one of those guys, and it's not,
Was Rodman's guy Haley, or was it Judd Buechler?
No. Judd Buechler was an actual rotation guy. Yeah, it was Jack Haley. It was Jack Haley?
Yeah,
okay. Yeah. Jack Haley's the guy who played 4 minutes all season or whatever. He was just, Rodman's.
I confused my my white 90s NBA players with nice
come
haircuts.
on. Yeah, put some respect on Judd Buechler. Come on.
Well, here's the other thing. They were both New Jersey Nets at the same time, too. It's very confusing. They both were Nets at the same time when I was going to Nets games.
Oh, was Jack Haley on that team?
Yeah, Jack Haley played with Judd Buechler with the Nets.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. All right, good for him.
So they were teammates for 2 different teams. They're both white dudes.
Yeah, that's fair.
Come on,
man. That's fair.
Understandable.
I'm looking at Jack Haley right now. I guess I could bring this up in 2 hours when we get to it, but I'm not going to, because it's going to take way too long until we get there. Jack Haley died on March 16th, 2015 of heart disease at age 51. Funny that he died before Dennis Rodman did, but that's not funny. Why did I say that was funny? That's not that's not funny or ironic or anything. That's just kind of awful. But
you gotta be careful, because you're cancelable.
I could still be
you're gonna
taken
get canceled,
down. Right?
Yeah.
But here you go to kind of take things. I guess we're gonna have to also review New Japan Resurgence now immediately. On April 16, 2015, a memorial service at the Walter Pyramid in Long Beach was attended by family and friends. Man,
well,
a funeral at Walter Pyramid. I wonder if more people went there than Resurgence.
Well, I mean, wasn't Jack Haley from Southern California because
He
went
was,
to
yes.
UCLA?
Yeah, but
He went
like
to UCLA.
that's a big memorial service.
Yeah,
It's a big building.
you
It's a
know.
4,000 seat building.
Yeah,
I'm from Chicago. I don't think 4,000 people are going to come see me when I die. So,
Oh, don't sell yourself short.
yeah.
Maybe they will.
Sell at the UC. Sell at the UC.
I'll tell you what, I'll fly in.
Well, good. So you have assumed that you will. I am die. Well, I am absolutely. Yeah, I'm absolutely going to die before you die, for sure.
Why you say that?
Well, because of course you will. You are fine. You pull your back
yeah.
out. You're fine.
Yeah.
You don't do anything. You're fine. It's like
Right.
Yeah. I'll worry myself to death, and you'll just be like, even though you worry about death constantly, but somehow
I do.
I who don't really worry about my death will die before. Yeah, for sure. Anyway,
Well, you mushed my cough, so now you've mushed my death. I'm gonna get hit by a bus, or I'll never be anywhere where there is a bus.
I was
That
gonna
can't
say,
happen.
where do you go that are
But,
their buses are there?
Yeah, like I'm never standing on the street to be hit by a bus. Like, you know what I mean? Or like a meteor will crash through the roof of my house or something now, and because now I'm a little worried about this because you've been skirting death with your seeing these accidents on the way to work, and you're narrowly avoiding them, and you're mushing me at every turn. So, you better reverse this karma because I'm legitimately worried about it now.
All right, let's get to the rest of
And
this.
then you just move on to the next match.
How do
You're like,
how do I follow that up? What do you want me to say? What do you want me to say? I'm sorry. You want me to apologize? I don't know.
what's the next match, Rich?
Next match is oh boy, this show. we're gonna get there, but there's a reason why we're a little cold on this show. AEW TBS Championship: Jade Cargill versus Taya Valkyrie.
I mean, I think this belongs on the pre-show.
It does.
Now look, this is the most low bars to be sure, but this is the most interesting program that Jade has been involved in a long time because she just doesn't do anything interesting. I mean, she's either in a feud that she has absolutely no chance of losing, or she's beating Red Velvet for the 17th time, right? And it's just rinse, repeat. Cut the shit, Tony. I mean, we've seen it all before. It's the same repetitive, and then she has a 2-star match at the pay-per-views, so, and Taya Valkyrie stinks. I never thought she was any good, and it still don't. So I'm not looking forward to this. I think it belongs on the pre-show, but here we are. And, look, the first match they had was okay. Especially considering who was involved. I thought it was fine.
Yeah. That match wasn't as bad as going in. I thought it was going to be a dumpster fire, and it wasn't.
I'll sign up for that right now. I will sign up for the last match they had just with a real finish. I'll take that. I mean, I'm not greedy because I don't think they're capable of going out there and having a good match.
Oh, no,
don't.
No, not those two.
And I'm off on Jade. I'm done. I'm not interested in Jade. Jade is not interesting to me.
Yeah, we need something
30.
new. We need something new with Jade. Like you said, we're like a year and a half now into like cut the shit Tony,
Same
and
old
then she
Jade.
wins a bad match. It's like, all right, we got it.
Yeah, and it's disappointing that they don't have her on the road working house show matches. She should be working 20-minute matches with Emi Sakura or Serena Deeb or whoever the fuck you pick on all these house shows they do, but she's not doing it. And that shows me that I've never heard anything bad about her work ethic. Okay, I've only heard good things about her work ethic. So, unless she's saying explicitly that she doesn't want to do the house shows, and the house shows right now are a hands up kind of thing. It's volunteer. Put your hand up, we'll put you on them. For the most part, and it's like maybe she's not interested in that. We all know that she doesn't need the money. She has her own money. Her husband is rich. So. Do they not want her to improve, or have they asked her to do it and she just doesn't want to do it? I don't know. But working these squash matches on TV, she's never going to get any better. Have they just conceded that, okay, she's hit her ceiling? The development is, there's no more development to be had. And it's just, she's going to get by on charisma and star power. For me personally, it's not enough for me. I'm done with her. I don't find her interesting.
Yeah. Well,
You know,
here's a fun little a game we could play here. How many matches has Jade Cargill have in her entire career? If you could guess.
It's got to be under 100.
It is indeed under 100.
The streak is what, 50 or something? It's 56. To show how disconnected I am to her story, I don't even know how.
Yeah,
what the
exactly.
streak is.
I couldn't tell you
60?
either.
I don't care. I mean, so she only has a few before that. So what's she got, like 70 matches or something?
She has 61 total matches in her entire career. And how many of those are sub 2 minute, matches against insert, Diamante, or you know what I mean? Like just insert random
Local
person that's
jobber.
in there. Yeah. Or local Janai Kai or whatever local jobber that's in or whatever for that week. It's like there's a lot of those. So it's like, when you really look at the, like, you're saying, like, do they just think that this is the ceiling? Like, I don't know that they've even tested that ceiling, really. I don't know that they've really truly, and I know that they don't want to do it on TV because they think they're going to expose her, but that's what these house shows are supposed to be for. That's what these different things are for. This is why what's sending her to an indie, sending her somewhere would do is to maybe test those limits a little bit, because she's had a few longer matches and it's been kind of a mixed bag. But yeah, by and large, you're talking about most of those 61 matches. 61, that's such a low number. Most of those 61 matches are nothing, It's her beating...
Look,
just nothing. Yeah, it's I don't know. I don't know what to do right now. But you're right. I don't care. I guess I don't care anymore. So it's like whatever.
There was a time where I was very high on her as a prospect, and look, she legitimately, for a time there, was a quarter-hour draw. There's no question. I don't know if that's still the case. I haven't really looked at it recently, but a year ago, what I said they should do before they were doing house shows was just have her wrestle at every single Dynamite in an opening dark match against a good worker and let her go 15, 20 minutes, right? And show the finish on Dynamite and have Excalibur talk over it. Earlier tonight, Jade Cargill extended her winning streak to 57 matches with a win over Emi Sakura, and just show the finish, right? But it gets her the work. And they could have been doing that for a year now. But I don't even see the effort. And I'm sure behind the scenes, she's in the gym with Bryan Danielson, working on things, but nothing's going to replace working in front of a crowd and doing it for real. And I don't know. I just don't see them putting that up. So I get the impression they feel like there's nothing more to be gained from that aspect with her. And it's just, she's going to get by on charisma and her look and her star power. And quite honestly, I think she's hit the ceiling there too. What do they think she's going to be? She's going to be a significantly bigger star than she is now. How's she going to do that in a work rate company where people want to see great matches? That's the other thing. If she were in WWE, I'd be much higher on her upside.
Right.
You don't need that there. Here, the fans have that expectation.
Well, because let's say she loses the title to Taya Valkyrie. Are you saying, all right, here we go now, Jamie Hayter and Jade Cargill, let's see what this is going to be? I mean, that you can't do what Tony Storm and Hayter did a couple of months ago. You can't have that match. Jade's not going to be able to have that type of match. So yeah, there's ceiling of
Jade, if Jade wrestled, if they did Jade versus Jamie Hayter, we'd all be talking about, oh my God, can she hang?
Right. As opposed to, oh, baby, here we go. Wrestle? Like, she's moving away from the TBS. She's ready to go. Let's see what can happen here. I mean, nobody would have confidence in that match being anything.
We'd all be worried. We'd be like, oh, can Jamie Hayter carry her? Like, that'd be the discussion point. And that'd be the case with a lot of people on the roster. So, and obviously, Taya should not win this match. Absolutely not. Because whoever does finally end this streak...
it shouldn't be Taya Valkyrie.
No, it's got to be either an established star from outside the company or inside the company that beats her, or someone that you truly believe in that's going to get the rub, a younger wrestler that you think, like a Willow would be perfect. Willow would be perfect for that spot, who she's already beat her a million times, I think. But it's like either Sasha Banks coming in would be, you could do it that way, or somebody like, I think Willow would be the best in-house option for a wrestler who you want to elevate. Taya Valkyrie is neither of those things. Okay? She's not a star and is never going to be a star. And she's not a rising star. Like, she doesn't fit either of those archetypes. So she absolutely should not win. With all of this said, and we've buried this very strongly here, this has been at least the first program that Cargill has been in that has a little bit of meat on the bones in a long time.
Right.
I will say that if you're looking for something positive.
Right. And their last match wasn't that bad. So that's
wasn't a complete abomination.
Right.
And
So
that's as high as the praise goes.
For sure. All right. Now let's get to some of the business end of this show. Anarchy in the Arena, the Blackpool Combat Club versus the Elite. Anarchy in the Arena last year was one of my favorite matches of the year. Just an incredible spectacle, an incredible match. I'm expecting the exact same thing for this one. I mean, expectations are sky high for this. With all the people involved, with the precedent of Anarchy in the Arena, I think this is going to be spectacular. And thank God it's going to help save this show, because the first three matches we previewed, not getting the juices flowing. This match absolutely is. I cannot wait for Blackpool Combat Club versus the Elite.
Look, I thought it was very telling that Dynamite last night, they chose to close the show with an angle for this match. And they put the pillar 4-way go home stuff in the middle of the show. That to me shows that they're acknowledging that they need this match to sell the rest of these tickets. They need this match to drum up interest in the pay-per-view. It's sort of usurped the 4-way. The 4-way had so much television time during the build to this pay-per-view, and it felt like the Elite Blackpool Combat Club had a fraction of the time in comparison. And the last couple of weeks, you feel like there's been a stronger emphasis on this match. And that could be a product of, we've got these 3,000 tickets that just won't move. And I haven't seen an updated ticket sales for Double or Nothing in a while. But that's where we were at as of a week ago or a couple of days ago. And I thought that it was very telling that they chose to close out the final go home with an angle between these two sides and a Jon Moxley promo, instead of having the 4 pillars out there to close the show. So, and Moxley's promo was Moxley, he's out there, talking about, however, bloody you think this is going to be, it's going to be worse. This is going to be a fucking bloodbath. That's going to
be great. It's going to rule.
It's going to be incredible, and the last Anarchy in the Arena obviously was a match of the year contender. And when you look at the people involved and, the way, the storyline's been a lot of fun, and the Elite is back together, and there's a lot of subplots, and, is Don Callis going to get involved? Is Takeshita going to make an appearance? There's all these little things. It's without question is the match I'm looking forward to the most.
For sure. 100%. Yeah, definitely. Another match I am looking forward to with a little bit of an asterisk to it is AEW Women's World Championship. Jamie Hayter versus Toni Storm. Jamie Hayter defending her title against Toni Storm. So now what's the deal with this Jamie Hayter injury thing? I've seen work, I've seen shoot, I've seen it's legit, I've seen it's not legit.
She's hurt.
She's legit hurt, because I swear to God, every time I read, it's somebody saying the opposite of what I just read before. No. So she's hurt.
Someone told me a week ago that she's really hurt. And then today on the media call, somebody asked Tony Khan, and he was really testy about it. He was like, well, we've been telling you she's been hurt for weeks on TV, and we've been very upfront about it, and she's hurt, but she's going to be there, and she's going to wrestle. Yeah, no, she's really hurt, but she's going to make the match. Okay. She's hurt. She's got an injury. So Tony was very testy on the media call. He's had
a busy couple of weeks, so.
He wasn't his usual jovial storytelling self, okay? He was... a lot of the answers were short and curt and had a little bit of sarcasm to them. And, like the one about Hayter that I just thought he was, then when they asked about Battleground going head to head, oh man, he, that's the kind of topic he's usually testy about, though, to be fair.
Yeah. But, anytime you elicit, WWE reference. Yeah. That's when things get a little.
Did you notice that somebody asked if Battleground going head to head rekindles the rivalry between NXT and AEW?
I didn't hear that.
And did you notice that he was able to spit out the exact date that WWE dick tucked and took NXT off of Wednesdays?
Wow. No, I didn't. He noticed the day.
He was like, well, yeah, it was a hot rivalry at first, but then on April 21st, 2021, we saw what happened.
Wow.
And then I was like, holy shit, this guy had the date loaded up in the cannon. And And then he started getting into, I like competition as long as it's ethical. And I'm not saying that it's unethical to counter
but I put that caveat for a reason.
But yeah, but they've been unethical in other ways. And he really kind of lost his composure for the first time on the call when he was asked that question. But I thought that was so funny that he had the date ready.
Yeah, I don't think I noticed that. That's awesome. That's incredible. You think he's got like a Post-it note, or is that just in his head? That's just in his head at this point, right?
It's in his fucking head. He was like, yeah, there was a rivalry, but it ended on April 21st, 2021. I'm like, wow, that's ruthless.
That's Lanza stuff. That's Lanza stuff right there. Yeah,
that is Lanza. That is beast right there. Like having the date. Because he doesn't know he's going to be asked that. So he had that locked.
No, he's got it. Yeah, he's got it. Yeah.
He knows that like he knows his birthday. He knows that
like his phone number.
His girlfriend's birthday or anniversary. Yeah, he got that fucker locked in. Yeah, no, she's hurt though, and look, she'll wrestle here, and they didn't have a good match last time.
Great match.
They had a great match last time. So this might be my number 2 match that I'm looking forward to on the whole show.
Yeah, I just hope she's healthy enough to go to at least a certain level, and these are 2 very smart workers, so I have no doubt. But we were talking about last match, the one at the previous pay-per-view, and we love that match because they just beat the ever-living shit out of each other, and it's like, can you recreate that if one of the parties is has to be favoring a part of her body or has some sort of injury? That's what I'm a little worried about, and I just hope that she's not so hurt that they have to make this kind of a glorified angle as opposed to just a legit wrestling match. Hopefully she's good enough to go, and obviously we'll all know that and you can have a built-in story to the match too if and when she loses. And I kind of expect. What do you think? Do you expect her to lose here, or do you think that she retains? I feel like I don't have a 100% read on it, but I feel like this might not be a bad opportunity to give Tony the win here and give a little bit of juice to the Outcasts. And if Hayter is truly hurt, she can go away for a little bit, and maybe you come back and run this at All In at Wembley. And the quest is her getting this title back at Wembley, and then she does it. That's a cool moment. That if honestly, even if it hurt or not, that's probably how I would book it anyway.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea at all. I'm listening to that, and that sounds good. Especially if she's hurt and can't have like a real match, right? Or even if she can just gut her way through this, you can have her lose the title, and then she can go rest up again for a few more weeks,
take some time, and I think you want the Outcasts also to get this is a good feather in their cap as well. You don't want them to become Damage Control, where it's like, all right, these guys are kind of geeks or whatever. Like I think Tony winning, I think that's just probably the right move, and it also kind of fulfills Tony's entire thing too, where she said, I was the interim that's her whole grudge, is that she was the interim champion or whatever, that she got declared and stamped as an interim champion, and she didn't think that I think that story just works out better for everybody. And you also have a big giant show at Wembley, and you got a British woman who can then go and win that title at that. I mean, that to me, that just seems to make all the sense in the world. So I don't know that they're going that direction, but that's probably how I would book it if I was in charge. But I definitely like that match as well. Probably, like you said, second most anticipated match of the entire night. So then we have the 21-man Blackjack Battle Royal for the AEW International Championship. Now, I think we have all of the names, so give me one moment while I pull them all up. I was waiting. Yeah, you want them all? Here we go. Participants are Orange Cassidy, Ricky Starks, The Butcher, The Blade, Bandito, Commander, Lee Moriarty, Big Bill, Arya Davari, Tony Nese, Chuck Taylor, Trent Beretta, Kip Sabian, Ray Phoenix, Penta, Swerve Strickland, Brian Cage, Juice Robinson, Keith Lee, Dustin Rhodes, and Jay White.
Tugboat, the Barbarian, Brian Knobs.
Do it in the Vince McMahon voice. Yeah. Haku!
Yeah. Rugged Ronnie Garvin. Look, first of all, I think this would have been a good fit for the pre-show as well, this Battle Royal. But maybe they're going to do some big angle out of it. I don't know. There are dropped balls, okay? And then there's whatever the fuck is happening with Jay White. This is the Ernest Biner fumble in 87 against the Broncos. You can't have a ball dropped more aggressively than this ball has been dropped with the rollout of Jay White. I mean, this is an utter disgrace. Okay. You have this horrendously laid out feud with Ricky Starks.
Yeah, what is going on, by the way? What is this feud? What the fuck are we doing here? Because I thought it was honestly, earnestly was like, all right, because on Dynamite, Ricky Starks goes, yeah, Renee, it's been, I've been caught with these guys and stuck with these guys, but I'm ready to refocus. I'm like, there we go. Let's put that feud in there, and then fuckers, there they are again. Stop. What are we doing? Why is he continuing? Just every week he just gets his ass handed to him by these two dudes. Like, what? Why would anybody care about that? Why would anybody go, oh man, seems like Ricky's got himself in a pickle again. Let's see what next week brings. It's like, what are we doing? Stop.
So
this.
in that brief second, you're thinking, oh, they got out of this thing without beating either guy because they did the DQ.
Right.
And now we're all just gonna move on and forget that this ever happened.
And then there they come.
And then he gets jumped again. Right. You're like, wow, you know what? That's kind of clever. We all know Ricky's a hothead. He would get himself to, oh, wait, there they are again. Yeah,
right. I was like, no, what? I was ready. I was like, oh, phew, they finally got themselves out of it. We can move on with, but no, damn it, there they are again. Fuck. What are we doing?
We're going to stick in the fucking Battle Royal, which I can't even call a geek battle royal because there's like no geeks in it. This is like all pushed guys.
No,
in the battle royal.
It's weird. Yeah, it's not a geek. Like they come across like geeks, but none of these guys. I mean, there are geeks in here for sure, but like 70% of the match are like pushed guys. It's weird.
Yeah, it's not like Serpentico, Action and
Big Bill.
Right? Nah, it's like. There's stars in this thing, it's and it's just so fucking weird because the Jay White thing has been dropped from the start. Total drop ball. Number one, they put him with the wrong guy. Ricky Starks coming off of beating Chris Jericho and coming off hot off of that.
Wait, what did he do?
Should not.
Hold on a minute. Did he beat Chris Jericho? You sure about that?
Yes, Rich. In fact, he beat him twice. Center of the ring.
That's not what I remember. I don't remember that, but okay.
Some rare L's from Jericho. The man
right. I seem to remember the Heat Vampire stealing all of Ricky's heat, but okay. If you remember you remember it differently than me. That's fine. That's fine.
Which not to belabor this, but is it Chris Jericho's fucking problem or fault how these people get booked after he puts them over? Like why do people blame Chris Jericho?
The boogeyman. Yeah, he's the boogeyman. I don't know.
Chris Jericho did everything in his fucking power to put Ricky Starks over and did. And, hot reaction in the match, everything else. Hot reaction when Starks came out the next week on Dynamite for his promo. Why is it Chris Jericho's fault that Tony Khan then does a poor job with Ricky Starks in the follow-up? Why do people blame Chris Jericho for that? I know it's a rhetorical question. I know you don't have an answer. But that is the...
I don't like Chris Jericho is my answer. So.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
My answer is I don't like Chris Jericho, so that's why.
Right. So we're going to blame him for how the fumbling of these people after he does everything he can for them. So, and then Jay White should have never been programmed with Ricky Starks because it was a situation where you're afraid, as we've seen, they don't want to beat either guy. So why do it? Why book them together if it's not the right time for either one of them to lose? So now you have a scenario where you do what's supposed to be the blow-off match and you have to do a DQ because you don't want anyone to lose. And now you're sticking them both in a battle royal.
God.
So Jay White's debut, one of the biggest stars in the world, a man who has headlined the Tokyo Dome, has headlined Madison Square Garden, is a multi-time legitimate world champion in a major league organization, is one of the biggest stars in the world.
I'm sure he's being paid well. I'm sure he's being paid pretty well. Right?
He ain't getting paid in fucking hot dogs and handshakes. Okay, this man's making a lot of money. Okay, he comes in red hot off of a perceived bidding war, where everyone was like, "Wow." You remember the narrative was they stole him from WWE. They got him. He's theirs. You debut him with a run-in, okay, which was cold as hell. You put him in this feud where he's never allowed to talk. You put him in a feud where neither guy can beat the other because it's going to be the wrong decision either way. Then you do the DQ because you're afraid to beat either guy, and now you stick them both in a battle royal. You could not drop a ball harder than they have dropped the ball on Jay White because he doesn't feel like this hot acquisition anymore. Listen, that moment is gone.
Oh, yeah. You can't bottle that up again. That's over.
You can't put that toothpaste back in the tube. You whiffed on that. That's over. You can't recapture that. Okay? And if you were going to make the mistake of programming these guys against each other, how did they not both get tons of promo time? Are these two guys who have reputations where they can't talk? No, they're two guys with reputations where they're like
right.
great
So
talkers.
all they do is they beat guys up backstage and they throw them into crates backstage and don't talk. That's why I said 3 or 4 weeks ago that you just take Jay White away and hope that people forgot that he even appeared, and then just bring him back like in July and pretend that it's his debut and just hope that nobody notices it. But you're too far gone for that. That's over now. So.
Listen, maybe they have some brilliant thing they're going to do in this battle royal. That's
okay, sure.
But you've not only completely fumbled, you've not only completely Ernest Bynard fucking Jay White. Okay, sorry Browns fans to bring up that awful memory, but you've totally derailed Ricky Starks in the process. This whole thing was a giant fucking miss, and now we're in a battle where I don't understand it. And I really hope Orange Cassidy doesn't lose the battle royal, because he's had one of the best title reigns we've seen, regardless of promotion, in many years. This is a pantheon.
Oh yeah,
modern title reign.
It's fantastic, and I don't want it to end. And I don't think that this is the like. What is your read on it? If you were a betting man, which I suppose you are, does this strike you as a match that he's going to lose this title in? Because
it'd be a big mistake.
I feel like it might, because they're doing the battle royal, so it's a good way to kind of get out of it. But I don't know that I like him losing the title in this. I just don't. It'd be a real downer way to end this title reign that's been so good. And like you said, legitimize the international title after it had bounced around a bunch and hadn't quite figured out what it wanted to be. I mean, this is a guy that solidified this title, and he's had just a great run. I want this thing to end because he's finished this hellacious, match of the year level match against some guy, and that guy was just better on that night. I don't want, Jay White and Juice Robinson controlling the ring and throwing guys out, and that's just boring. You know what I mean? Like, and that's the way that Jay White wins this title. That would just be such a boring ass way to do it. So I truly hope that they're not switching the title here. It's not the right time. It's not the right match. It's not the right time.
No, it'd be a big mistake. It'd be a terrible end to the story. It'd be a terrible end to this great title reign. I don't mind if they end it soon, because the story is it's kind of coming to an end, like his body's falling apart.
Oh yeah,
that.
for sure. But I want his body to fall apart after a grueling match. I don't want his body to fall apart in a battle royal like that. That's gonna feel like a huge letdown.
Yeah, it'd really be shitty if Jay White dumps him over the top and sleazes his way to the title in a very Jay White way, but it wouldn't be the right way to end this story for Orange Cassidy. I really hope they don't do that. But just fucking weird. I mean, to do look with the star power that's in the battle royal, though, I have a feeling we're going to get a lot of different angles in the battle royal itself.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, so, they can set up months and months of stories with this, and there's a lot of time. It's not like it's like not like 3 guys that you're like, oh, those 3 are definitely going to win, the rest of these guys are dorks. Like, yeah, it's more, there's less dorks, there's just a few dorks in this match, like 3 or 4 guys that you're really like, okay, those guys are just complete non-factors. Pretty much everybody else has sufficient pushes or stories that could be built,
and their rivals are also in the match.
Right.
We're not loaded up with Alex Reynolds, Luther, it's like so from that standpoint, I'm sure it'll be fun.
Ladder match. Yes, a ladder match for the AEW TNT title, Wardlow versus Christian Cage. This is a doozy here. I don't think the build, I don't mind the build. The build hasn't been great, but I don't mind it. I just am not sure that I need to see Wardlow and a Christian Cage in a ladder match. Where do you stand with this?
I mean, yeah.
Can Christian do a ladder match? Like, the guy just came back from, a year away, basically, due to injury. Yeah. And he's going to have to do all the ladder matchy stuff, right? It's not like 1986 Mid-South where people are just going to buy a ladder match where guys are just slowly climbing up to, get the prize. Like, there's standards that ladder matches have these days, and people expect flying and big spots and those sort of things. Wardlow's the base. I'm assuming Wardlow's not going to be diving off of a ladder and Christian Cage is going to catch him. That also seems like a bad idea. But then Christian Cage jumping off a ladder and landing on Wardlow doesn't sound like a good idea either. So I'm kind of perplexed by this thing. I don't. Maybe it's good. Maybe it's way better than we think. But it does not seem worth the risk, given what you just endured with Christian and Wardlow's style and what he's good at. I don't know. I'm very very cautious about this match. I'm not quite sure what I think.
You can't do, like you're saying, an old school one big bump and everybody's happy. So there is a standard. Every match on this show, every men's match on this show has a gimmick. Do you notice that?
Yeah, it is. Guest referees, gimmicks, all that stuff.
It's the two women's matches that are just, I was gonna say mano y mano, but that means, would be the Spanish equivalent of mano. It's just the two women's matches that are just, all right, let's just have a match, right? And it's like all the men's matches all have a gimmick. So I don't know. I love Christian Cage because I know when he has a promo on the show, that's my personal main event. The guy's so fucking good. But yeah, look, didn't he have neck fusion surgery at some point?
Yeah.
What was his big injury?
He had, forget all of his issues. He's had a multitude
of problems. What's the one that retired him? Whatever it was.
I thought that was just concussion issues, but I don't recall if it was. Right. Yeah, I forget if he had a neck injury too. I'm sure he's had
here's the
several.
thing. Does it matter? He had something that forced him to retire. He had something where doctors said you don't want to be wrestling anymore, right? And now we're doing ladder matches with this guy. Like, I don't know. It's his body.
Right.
And I know they're going to work it smart. Okay. He's going to come up with some good ideas. He's like one of the greatest ladder match wrestlers of all time, an innovator, all those things. Here's the thing. I don't really care about the Wardlaw all that much. Like, that guy does nothing for me. I'm kind of out on him too. I mean, there's this idea that they kind of dropped the ball on him, and that might be true to some extent, but at the same time, once he beat Max, it was all going to be downhill. That was the heat. And it's like, yeah, they've had some missteps with him, but I think maybe people just overrated his ceiling to some extent. I mean, he looks great. He looks like $1 million. But the problem is he looks like a world champion in 1989. You know what I mean by that?
And he kind of works like one too, unfortunately.
Right. Yeah. And it's like,
and he talks like one too. Like a bad world champion in 1989. Like, yeah, it's he doesn't have the full package the way that a lot of people think.
This is another guy where I'd be much more bullish on him with WWE.
Yeah.
Or they'd find a way to just push him and shove him down your throat, and they kind of push people by just force of will, and eventually, because their fans want to like everything, so eventually they do. But it's like he's more their kind of archetype. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I would assume Wardlaw is going to win the match unless they're going to do something with him and the Dinosaur Man, and I guess they could do that anyway if he wins. I don't know.
Yeah, this is probably a pretty good way for Christian to win this title without actually having to get pinned. And like you said, you could do a Wardlow Dinosaur Man thing, but it's just like, it's Wardlow's a guy who in another era of wrestling, 20, 30 years ago, he'd be perfect because he'd go to a territory for a year, tell that story, leave, go to another territory, do that story, leave. You know what I mean? Like, so people wouldn't get sick of him because it'd be the first time that, Mid-South is seeing him. And then he would go to Texas and you do his, you know what I mean? Like, whereas this, it's like, yeah, like you said, once the MJF story was over, it was like, all right, what's next? And it's just like, I don't know, like not much.
Hey, can we criticize Max a little for sucking all the guys' heat? What should have been his big
absolutely
moment?
Fucking sucks the heat out of it. That was a what people think Chris Jericho does, sucking all the heat out of guys. MJF did it immediately in the follow up to that, yeah, for sure.
Get it in the fucking match. Like, first of all, the whole story that weekend was, is he going to show up?
Right, airport tickets and all that bullshit that was going on.
And whether it was a work, a shoot is immaterial to the larger point. Then he shows up, and it's like he went in there and did the job, but it was like winking at the camera kind of job where it's like, all right, I'm going to lose, but I don't really care that I'm losing, and then I'm going to take a vacation. Like, it totally sucked all the heat out of the guy's big moment. They built up Wardlaw for like 3 years for that.
From day one. From day one.
And then MJF just, sucked all the heat out of it. And it's like, then the same thing happened to MJF. his big return and brawl out kind of steals all the energy and attention from that. So it's like, he was a victim of that as well. But yeah, I mean, from that point, it's like, that should have been the absolute, no pun intended, pinnacle of the Wardlaw story. And it just, for reasons completely outside of his. And could that have been calculated by a guy like MJF, who's that kind of thinker? For sure. He's that kind of thinker, right? And it's like, well, how do I get the attention on me when it's someone else's moment? And then, I don't know but it's something to think about.
Then we have another guest referee here, Mark Briscoe, the guest referee for this match. AEW World Tag Team Titles, FTR versus Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal. Honestly, if this was FTR versus Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal, just like those two teams versus each other, I'm kind of into this match because I'm into Jarrett and Lethal. I think they're fun. FTR are great pro wrestlers. You throw in the whose side is Mark Briscoe on? I don't care. Like I don't know where you stand on that. I don't really give a shit what side Mark Briscoe's on. I don't need that. I just want two teams battling for the AEW World Tag Team titles. That's enough for me. I guess some people need, what side is this guy on, guest referee thing, but I mean, we're going to do a guest enforcer with Sabu. We're doing a guest referee with Mark Briscoe. Like you said, it's all bells and whistles, and it's just like I don't think it needs all this. The Hardys win. They own Ethan Page's contract. There's a gimmick and something attached to all these matches. I think this could just be a World Tag Team title match between Jarrett and Lethal and FTR. But alas, Mark Briscoe, special guest referee. Where are you at with this match?
I have the complete opposite take. I'm more interested in this match with the presence of Mark Briscoe because I think he's been so great on television. So there's that. To your larger point, where everything is gimmicked up and everything has a story, could this still be Tony Khan being a little insecure about that and leaning too hard into, disproving that he doesn't tell stories? Could that be still some of that? That's kind of been the theme of this entire pay-per-view build, right? And it's like we're seeing it play out in the blow-offs of the matches. But I would have less interest in this match without Mark Briscoe. So I am the opposite of you.
Interesting. It's not Mark Briscoe because he on television, he's been great. I just don't really care whose side he's on. Like that doesn't do anything for me. And we're going to have a bunch of weird is he going to do the count? And he does 1, 2, and then has to think, I don't want that. I don't know what we're going to do with this. I don't know what kind of caveats we're going to throw on him being the guest referee, but it just feels like it's going to be a lot of just weird shit that's just like, I just want to watch two teams wrestle, to be honest, but whatever.
I think it'll probably be fun. And I think that if they didn't do any of this Mark Briscoe stuff and it was just a straight match, it wouldn't really have a chance to be a great match anyway. So, gimmicking up this one, if everything else wasn't gimmicked up, wouldn't seem so egregious, but everything is gimmicked up. So I don't know. It's been a while since the tag team titles in this company have just been like a work rate kind of title, and it's probably time. I feel like I said this before, with the last pay-per-view, but here we are again where, and I guess, we've got the trios titles for that now. And, Orange Cassidy obviously has been, one of the greatest just bell to bell, go out there and have a match kind of champions that we've seen in a very long time. And I guess that's a nice transition to the main event because, man, that guy's a real pillar. Some of the guys in this match, they say are pillars and they're, I would dispute that. Orange Cassidy's like a true pillar of this company.
For sure.
From a ratings point of view, from being on TV every week, his segments always do well. He has great matches. He's like the glue that holds Dynamite together. That's another way of saying that he's a pillar. He holds the show up, and we've got this main event with the 4 pillars that, look, if you're tired of this pillar stuff, or if you don't believe in 1, 2, 3, or all 4 of these guys, used to it, settle in, because it's going to be this way for the next decade, because Tony loves all these dudes. And to use an old overused meme, love anything like Tony Khan loves the idea of Sammy Guevara babyface. I mean, I don't know what he sees or why he thinks Sammy Guevara can be an effective babyface, but he just thinks he can be, and he's never going to give up on that. He loves Jack Perry. I mean, Jack Perry's going to be a world champion in this company. I mean, it's just going to happen. Get ready for that. I don't think it's happening Sunday, but and MJF is MJF. Look, MJF's great. Okay, he's great. Let's leave him out of this. Other than the fact that a lot of this story is his brainchild, and this story fucking stinks. Okay, and he has a lot of control over his own stories, and he has a lot of control over this one. But his performances, his promos, and everything, from that standpoint, I can't knock his performance. The guy's great. The other three have been a mixed bag. Darby Allin's a better promo than I ever thought he could be. The problem is he shouldn't be promoing. He shouldn't be talking. Here's what Darby Allin should be doing. He should be hanging out in the rafters with fucking goth grandpa and playing with Ouija boards or whatever the fuck, and he should never be cutting promos. I don't want to hear Darby Allin cutting promos, and it's just, we don't need everyone to be a promo guy. That's not what he is. That's not what got him over. That's not his essence. I don't need to hear about his fucking therapy. Okay? He's been surprisingly good with the stick, but it's not him. Sammy has turned twice in the course of this program.
Yeah, I know.
And then you wonder why he's cutting a babyface promo last night on Dynamite, a backstage segment, and no one's reacting to it. Why would they? Why would they? The guy just turned twice in a matter of 6 weeks, and he's not a good babyface anyway, and never will be. He's hateable. Just let people hate him. Let people fucking hate him. And then Jack Perry, I mean, I thought MJF, I feel like he was ribbing on the square when he said that, whatever he said about watching a Jack Perry promo and falling asleep. The guy's a fucking bore. The guy is a fucking bore. And now you have MJF pointing it out on TV, which is what MJF does. Okay? He says what we're all thinking. And Jack Perry is a fucking bore. And he's not ready for this spot. And I don't know if he's ever going to be. I don't know if Jack Perry is ever going to be a compelling promo. I don't know if he has it in him. The guy just talks like he has marbles in his mouth. He's not interesting. He doesn't carry himself like a star. And look, he's young and he has time. But I still refuse to buy the stock. I need to see. They're telling me, but they're not showing me. Okay? They're constantly telling me Jack Perry's a guy and not just a guy, but they're not showing, and he's not showing me.
Right.
He has great matches. There's no doubt about it. His matches over-deliver. And I'll tell you what, I don't like this build. I don't like this match. They're probably going to go out there and have a 4.5-star match.
I have a very good feeling it's going to be a good match because MJF, Sammy, and Darby are all performers that always step up, always have pretty good, and Jungle Boy too. Like, we should give credit where it's due. He's had very good in-ring performances, and if he's in there with the right guy, he usually does deliver. But the build has just been, and there was a couple weeks ago where they did those pre-tapes or whatever, where I was like, all right, maybe they got this build back on track, or maybe we're just not there yet, and we're here, so we're not going to get there. You know what I mean? Like, this whole build has been so much more about guys deserving chances and deserving spots and deserving this, and nobody earning anything. Nobody. What have any of these guys done to earn this spot in this build? We just started with 4 guys in the ring, cutting bad promos, and then we've kind of twisted and turned there for like a month and a half at this point. And it's like, there's so many other ways that you could tell this story other than just, Jack Perry saying, like, you don't come to work and you're the champion. That's bullshit. And it's like, all right, sorry, not my fault, buddy. And Darby talking about his therapy and Sammy being like, I fuck everything up, and I'm not going to fuck this up. And it's like, why do I want to watch these people go for the title? And you talked about MJF too. Like, he, in the entire build to this, is basically just making fun of these guys, how they don't deserve this title shot. And none of it is wrong. Nothing that he said is wrong. He says Darby's weird and Sammy's just a fuck up, and he's a little guy and he's not going to do it. And then Jack Perry's boring, but none of these guys have done anything to earn this shot. And I think that there's so many other better ways to deal with this story and to have these guys. There was a way to make this feel like this is the match that you had to make. That Darby's winning a bunch of matches, Jungle Boy's winning a bunch of matches, Sammy's winning a bunch of matches. You could say, man, those were the guys that they called the 4 pillars, and all 4 of them right now are on, or all 3 of these, if you want to say Sammy, Darby, and Jack. Those guys are undeniable right now. They are on win streaks, their 5, 6, 7 match win streaks, big time matches. Man, there's going to be a collision course here with those guys are just going to have to go for the. MJF's going to have to face those guys for the title because they're all top contenders. They're all. Instead, it's been none of that. It's been guys talking about how they deserve to be in this spot, and I deserve to be here, and I work hard, so I should get this opportunity. And nobody has earned any of this opportunity. So it's just such a dumb story. And they've tried and they've pivoted a little bit and they've done, but it's just at the end of the day, I don't know why I'm compelled to watch these 4 guys wrestle. I don't know why. And I don't know, like, nobody thinks that any of these guys are beating MJF for this title either. So it's like, it's a placeholder.
It would be a massive mistake if any of them did.
Who would do it? Who,
if, like,
honestly, if I had to say, Joe, MJF has to lose this match, who does he lose it to? Who's the best person that you could pick?
I mean, if I had to pick one, I'd pick Jack Perry, because maybe that's what he needs to get over the top and be perceived as a top guy. Sammy would be my. There's 4 people in this match, and Sammy Guevara would be my 6th pick to win that. Like, I would never pick Sammy. Darby, I would pick if he never spoke. The thing about it is we learned he could promo a little, which is nice, but it completely killed his aura, and he doesn't feel cool anymore. Do you think he feels as cool as he used to? I don't.
Oh, no. The mysterious, brooding guy is definitely a lot cooler of a Darby vibe than, here's my life. Here I am in my, I'm with you. I agree.
So if I had to pick one and like MJF's contract was up and someone had to win, I'd pick Jack Perry because, that's like, all right, well, let's just rocket pack the guy and see what happens. It's funny because I don't want to hyper focus on the therapy line, but you had Jack Perry right there, and that would have fit his character so much better because everyone always attacks the idea that his father's dead, right? So he's got the dead father who never saw him succeed in pro wrestling, and he's got the mentor and the best friend who just turned on him and put him through hell. Like, I think that would have been a nice character addition for him. To talk about how he's gone through therapy and worked on things, and it would have worked better for his story than it works for. I don't want Darby Allin humanized. That's what I'm getting to here. Jack Perry, I want humanized. I want to relate to Jack Perry. I want people to relate to Jack Perry, the human being, and for him to stop being a Tarzan knockoff and with his fucking leafy boots, and that's great for him. I don't want Darby Allin humanized. There are some gimmicks and characters in pro wrestling that you do not want humanized. There's another one on this show, and his name is Sabu. Who wants Sabu humanized? It wouldn't work. You don't want it. You want Sabu to just point at the fucking ceiling and crash through tables. I want Darby Allin up in those fucking rafters acting like MJF says, a school shooter. That's what I want. I don't want him humanized. I want him to be a freak show who has no concern for his body, doesn't speak, and is just a fucking weirdo, because that's what got him over. And I feel like they in a lot of ways have hurt Darby Allin in this feud. This has been a net negative for Darby Allin. So, I don't know. To answer your question, I'd pick Jack Perry if I was forced to choose.
It's tough. And I think I would probably pick Darby, but I don't feel confident about that at all. And I mean, it's not going to happen. MJF is winning this match, and he's going to leave as the champion and build to the entire summer. But yeah, it ultimately, like, this story just it never clicked. It never worked, and I think is responsible more than anything for the TV feeling as bad as it did for as long as it did. And like you said, the minute that they kind of pivoted away from this story being the central focus of the television show and not starting the show off, ever since a couple weeks ago, they've started the show off with a hot match now. You know what I mean? And that's so much of a better thing than these guys getting in the ring and bitching and moaning about why they deserve a spot. That's what we had for a couple weeks. Then we sort of pivoted to, all right, in the midst of the show, we're going to show these promo packages and these little videos here or there, and that's going to be the build to this thing. And then, like you said, this week, it was... I mean, when you leave that show thinking Anarchy in the Arena is the main event, and hell, it might be the main event. I don't know. Like, I'm not sure. That might be the main event. Like, that's the way that Dynamite. I mean, because you had a little bit of story here and there, but you said it was in the middle of this show. It was thrown in the first hour, and then the beginning of the second hour. The main event angle was those dudes. Was Blackpool Combat Club and the Elite or whatever. So that pivot, I think, has helped the show tremendously. And I'm just ready for this match to happen and this story to be over, and for us to just all move on with their lives, because this has just been a not good. And AEW very, very rarely misses on their big, high-end, top match, main events of pay-per-views that they usually deliver on those. The stories usually make sense. The stories usually have some juice to them. This has been a major miss. So I don't know, man.
With that said, with the closing angle, that's the main event spot. That's the closing angle. That's the lasting impression. That's what you're closing the show with. With that said, they know that more people are watching in the middle of the show. So they kind of played it both ways.
True.
You know what I mean? But there is a symbolic nature and the idea of this is the thing you want to leave people with by closing the show, the go home show with the other angle. But yeah, look, and I do want to mention this before we move on. I did enjoy the very subtle pivot that MJF made when he brought up that his contracts coming due again, the War of 24 stuff. It used to be he would rant and rave about how much he hates AEW and how much AEW sucks. He gave a real rah-rah promo about all of his opponents and himself and how they built the place and they're the pillars and they're homegrown and they didn't have national TV exposure before, but now everybody knows that they're stars and we're here and this company's built on us. And, and then the way he positioned his contract coming due was, but quite frankly, I'm bored here. He didn't bury the company. He's kind of gotten away from this place sucks.
Right,
which
was terrible anyway. Whoever greenlit that is dumb too. That was stupid to have. This company fucking sucks and I can't wait to leave. All right, hey, awesome.
Yeah, so now it seems to be, well, I'm just bored here and I might want to move on, which is a better way to go about the same story because you don't have the guy burying the company, and unfortunately they had a bunch of different stories going on at once for a while there. It was just people saying how much the company sucks. And,
right.
And they've gotten away from that. You got to give them credit because I think maybe there was some reflection there by Tony or whoever else, and they've kind of gotten away from that aspect of it. But, yeah, I think the match is going to deliver. And the only drawback is I don't think there's any chance that MJF can lose. So the question is, can they fool you? Can they fool you on a near fall? Can they convince you briefly that he could go down? That's the key, because they're going to work their ass off, and it's MJF. He is going to do, especially if he goes on after Anarchy in the Arena, he is someone who is always motivated to steal the show and be the talk coming out of the show. So it's almost better if this match does go on last, because I think that they'll have something to prove, because the other match is going to be great. And, Sammy Guevara will do anything to get over. Darby's a fucking maniac. Jack Perry always has good matches, and MJF will do anything in his power to be the talk coming out of a show and to steal the show. So I do think the match will be excellent.
Oh, I do too. Yeah, I think ultimately when it's build aside, I think it has the chance to be a very, very, very good match. And I think ultimately, yeah, when you have the Anarchy in the Arena, you have whatever Hater and Storm might be, and then MJF World, the AEW World Title match, those all have the potential to be pretty damn good. And if anything else on the show, like we said, Cole and Jericho has a chance to over deliver as well. And then who the hell knows about Wardlow and Cage, and who the hell knows about FTR and Jarrett and Lethal. But yeah, it still does have the chance to be a pretty damn good show. So excited to check it out on Sunday. Again, Instant Reaction Live immediately following the show on Sunday night. That is going to be at flagshippatreon.com or voicesofwrestling.com/Patreon or patreon.com/voicesofwrestling. Anyway, that you want to get there. $10 tier. Again, you're going to want to sign up early. Don't sign up the day of. Don't sign up an hour before. Don't sign up when we go live. Sign up now, and you're going to be able to get all the other bonus audio we have, all the other bonus stuff we have. Plus, you'll be ready to go for Sunday. Always a fun time. Always one of our most listened to shows, the Instant Reaction Lives. The chat room's always buzzing while the things are going on as well. So it's a blast. I always really, really enjoy these, and can't wait to do it again here on Sunday for AEW Double or Nothing. So, all right, so let's get to some other topics here. But before I do that, I do have to let you know that this episode of the Flagship Podcast is sponsored by our friends at BetStamp and the BetStamp app, which is helping thousands of people win at sports betting. The same way that travelers use Google Flights or Expedia to find the best prices, bettors can now use BetStamp to do the same. When you place a bet, the odds given by a sportsbook will determine how much you could possibly win. even when betting on the same outcome. Different sports books will offer varying payouts, and those differences can be huge. I was just looking at this a little bit earlier. If you're doing futures bets for the NBA Finals, so you want to bet on the Nuggets, or at this point still the Heat and the Celtics are both in there, different books are offering different things. So you don't have to be beholden to any one of these books. Go with the one that's going to make you the most money. Go with the one that's going to give you the best odds. You're going to bet on the Nuggets anyway. Like why be beholden to one book over another book? So I was looking at that a little bit earlier. That's what really is the best part about BetStamp is you can go on there and you can just say, how am I going to win the most money? What I'm going to do the same bet. What is going to give me the most money with that same bet? That is what BetStamp does. They do line shopping. Easily line shop for the most profitable odds across all of sports books. You can click on any matchup and instantly see all the different odds for game lines, player prop bets, or as I said, futures bets. Line shopping is the simplest way to find an edge in sports betting and maximize your chances of winning long-term. On average, BetStamp users win an extra $1,000 yearly just by line shopping and finding the best odds. So you can find the BetStamp app on the Apple iOS Store, Google Play, or go to your browser and go to betstamp.app. That's .app/VOW. That's betstamp.app/VOW to access all of the benefits that I talked about before. You're going to want to sign up with the promo code VOW. So make sure when you get in there, Betstamp app /VOW or Betstamp on Apple iOS or Google Play, make sure you use that promo code VOW and you can start your journey to successful sports betting today. And if you forget to use that code on sign up, don't worry, you can always enter it in your account settings as well to make sure you unlock all of the benefits of BetStamp. Again, that's betstamp.app/VOW, promo code VOW, or find the BetStamp app on Apple iOS or Google Play. And of course, we thank them for sponsoring this week's show. All right. Let us get to, well, I guess, Joe, I'll leave it up to you. Do you want to talk about the world of WWE, or do you want to get into New Japan Pro Wrestling?
Do you know the Rampage spoilers or no?
I do not.
Are House of Black going to be on this pay-per-view?
I don't know. They're not on it now, but I guess they could be on it.
What did you think of the gimmicked up? I know you weren't a big fan of it.
The Van Gogh lights. Yeah.
You're still not in?
Better than the darkness, but I don't know.
I think I like it.
You're into the Van Gogh thing? You're in? You're in? Okay.
I think I've decided I like it. It's different. This week's house rules or whatever were the lucha tag rules. I thought that was... I like the idea of the challengers picking their own gimmick rule.
Yeah.
Look, here's the thing. If this is going to keep Malachi Black happy... okay.
Oh, he's a great wrestler. Yeah, whatever keeps these guys on my television show having good matches, I'm good. I'm fine with me.
Yeah, if they're going to go out there for a couple months until this wears out its welcome or they lose the titles and just have really good TV matches against a variety of different opponents, you can do whatever the fuck you want with the house lights. That's how I'm approaching this. Okay? And it does kind of set them apart. So if writing up your little fucking rule, if him stroking his chin and coming up with his fucking house rules, and giving him his gimmick lighting is going to make him happy. So he's not, going home to recalibrate every 6 months. Then you know what? I think it's fine. That's kind of my stance on it now.
What I think I like about it too is they're cutting less promos, because that's usually what gets me is like him in the back being like the seeds of discontent are arising among us. I'm like, what are you talking? Whatever. But like they're just coming out. There's weird lighting, and then they have good matches, and that's fine with me. That is okay. You know what I mean? It keeps the lore is to a minimum.
Some kind of riddle. He's talking in a riddle. Yeah. You ever see those? You ever get these things suggested to you on YouTube where it's like old Socrates quotes? Like I feel like he gets them off at air and then he just reads them off in the promo. A lonely man can only succeed if he's like, it's always some, it's always some kind of fucking riddle with his velvet fucking antlers that he's wearing. And, it's, so yeah, if this keeps him happy and that stuff is kept to a minimum and, and they're just going to go out there and have good matches.
Because they rule when they just wrestle. It's great.
Brody King hanging Blake Christian over the rope like he did Darby last night. That was a great visual. They had all three of them in a submission, and AR Fox is tapping out. And, so I just wanted to see if we can get a Rich Craich update on the mood lighting.
Yeah.
For,
I like the Van Gogh more than like the darkness thing that they did a couple, like what was it, 2 weeks ago or whatever. They just put just complete darkness. And then as the match went on, you could tell the guy with the slider just a little bit, like they're like, no, we need a little bit more lighting than that. It looks really desolate. It looks like they're wrestling in a warehouse. And then like as the match was going on, a little by little, the light sliders to the point where like by the end of the match, it was almost like just kind of subtly dark and not completely dark. But the Van Gogh lighting is interesting. That I don't mind as much. So I'll take Starry Night over hell. Again, as long as he's not cutting backstage promos about the seeds of discontent or whatever, I'm fine with it. So.
You think that's his fuck lighting at home too?
The Van Gogh Starry Night? Yeah, probably.
Do you think he's one of these guys who, on the ceiling in his bedroom, he has those glow in the dark moons and stars
constellations? That,
yeah, that girls would have on their ceiling when you were in high school, right? You'd go to hook up with a girl, and they always had those glow in the dark moons and stars on the ceiling in their room. You think he's one of those guys? He's got those on there?
Probably. And he's just talking to you about Capricorn the entire time. And you're like, I don't. Okay, man. Like, whatever, Him
in the shop stored with the constellations on the ceiling.
For sure. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Anyway, maybe we'll get a mood lighting House of Black Trios match here on the pre-show.
That'd be fine with me. All right. So what do you want to do? WWE or New Japan Pro Wrestling?
Nah, fuck You know what?
Yeah.
Fuck WWE.
Damn right.
How about that? You think I want to talk about WWE?
Hell no.
That's something I want to do. Okay. So let's talk about the New Japan Pro Wrestling.
And all their stories are fucked up.
WWE.
All their stories are fucked up because they just wouldn't have Roman lose. So every story's jacked out of it. They had to create a fake title. They have a weird tag match, and Brock and Cody are fighting for no reason just because they wouldn't let that man, who, by the way, is passing. Roman Reigns will be 1,000 days as champion on May 26th, but he's in a tag team match for this. It's like, wouldn't the best story be to get to 1,000 days? You could lie about it too. You could fudge with the numbers a little bit. To get to 1,000 days, Roman Reigns has to defend the title against X. And if he beats X, then he will be 1,000 days as champion. No, he's in a tag match against Owens and Zayn, and there's a fake title now, and Cody and Bryan, whatever. Yeah, fuck them.
I guess we're doing WWE.
No,
then.
fuck them. I'm done. Don't even respond to that. Fuck them. Move on.
We'll give him 8 minutes.
That's too much.
Can we do it in 8 minutes?
No, make it 4.
You think we could do this in 4 minutes?
Yeah, do it in 4.
Have you seen pretty much every contender for this new title bury it?
Yes.
Have you seen that?
Call it a secondary handout title. Yeah.
Seth Rollins called it a secondary title. AJ Styles says it's a consolation prize. I might have them mixed up, but they both said, each one of them said one of those things. Complaining that, Roman has all the belts. And,
yeah.
So they're not even like their own people are burying this thing publicly, which is embarrassing. It's humiliating. Roman going after the tag titles, which fuck it, he may as well win them.
Oh sure, I hope he does. I hope he, Joe. I am so hoping he wins the titles.
Just have him out there like fucking Ultimo Dragon. Just
right,
fucking,
I love it. Yeah.
What's the difference? Yeah, I mean, Cody and Brock again.
They're trying to force feed the torn pec story now with Cody and his broken arm. Cool, whatever.
Yeah, well, they had him super over. I mean,
they did. Oh yeah, they did. Yeah.
Any of this.
Hey, yeah, stories don't end, Joe. Stories don't end. Just everything would have been so much easier. Every story is so much easier and better.
And more interesting.
They just can't. They're so bad. They're so stupid.
They even had us for a short window.
They got
analyzing
us.
them.
Yeah.
We were analyzing them in earnest, and they blew it. Now we just don't give a fuck again.
Yeah. Well.
2 pay-per-views this weekend. One of which, this is crazy, Rich. Did you know that Battleground, just by sheer coincidence, is head-to-head with Double or Nothing?
Oh, golly gee, really? Wow. Man.
This Sunday, yeah. It's last time they did this, remember it was
Gosh darn
earlier
it.
in the
That
day.
happens every time. The worst luck,
No. Last time, remember, it was earlier in the day, and they had that plausible deniability, and they were like,
No, we're doing it at 4 p.m. It's like we always do.
But like the idea was they're still taking attention and headlines and all those sorts of things. Now it's just head to fucking head. Did you see Shawn Michaels doing the Iraqi general bit? Like, oh, I didn't know it,
that Memorial Day weekend. I mean, it's just the time to have a show, No, I did see that. Did you get called on in the HBK media call earlier today or no?
I don't know, Rich. You can't get me in.
We never get the invite. It might be in my spam. Let me see if Michael Hickenbottom emailed me. It went to my spam, but
I might have a better chance of getting called.
You might. Yeah, Hickenbottom doesn't know what. Let's see here. No emails from Michael Hickenbottom, unfortunately. So, do you think he's sending them as Shawn Michaels, or how do you think I'm getting these? I'll check Shawn Michaels.
It's not coming from him, Rich.
Oh,
it's coming from.
You don't think he sends them out? Okay. Well.
No.
Well, I have a better chance of getting an email from Shawn Michaels than I do WWE PR. So either way, I don't. There's an off chance that that Michaels would hit the wrong button and email me, whereas WWE PR I don't think will ever be emailing me anytime.
You should probably hit him up, and then he'll probably respond to you like that picture of him on AOL in 1996 with the one finger over the keyboard. Yeah. But anyway, they got asked about that directly, and he was like, "Oh well, it's a holiday weekend, and we, people above my head make those decisions. I don't think it's on purpose." Come on now. We all know it's on purpose.
Just say it. It's fine.
We all know it's on purpose. Just say it. Just come out with it and say, yeah, we're in a wrestling war and we're going to counter program. Just say it. Because we all know what that's what it is. They had the date first. You jump in, run it at the same exact time. It's the Vince playbook since 1984. Okay, we all know
we know
it.
We know the score. It's all right.
Yeah. Triple H was subtle. He's like, I'll run at 4 p.m. Vince is like, put it at 8. Run head to head. That's what they do. So, Battleground, Rich. I know you're up to date on NXT.
Oh, God, yes. Am I up to date on NXT? So much so I don't even want to preview this because I'm so up to date. And it would just do a disservice because, we'd clue people in so much. I don't want to spoil the pay-per-view for people. You know what I mean? Like, because we're so dialed into NXT television that we would just reveal all the results here, and that just wouldn't be fun then for all those people who are tuning in on NXT Battleground this Sunday.
The last thing Rich wants to do this weekend is crack his knuckles and settle in for some Battleground.
Settle in for some Noam Dar versus Dragon Lee. Yeah.
Well, that's probably going to be pretty
That's probably good. Lyra Valkyria versus Tiffany Stratton for the NXT Women's title.
This is the last thing Rich Craich wants to do.
No, I'd rather not watch Under Siege, Impact Under Siege.
All right, so we have Double or Nothing, Battlegrounds, the Blood Money Show.
We're well past 4 minutes, by the way, so wrap it up here.
The Best of the Super Junior Final and Under Siege. There's 6 major shows this weekend. You put Battleground number 6? Don't answer yet. If this podcast didn't exist, if Voices of Wrestling didn't exist.
Got the Indy 500 this weekend too, pal.
I know I'm threatening you with a good time, but if Voices of Wrestling didn't exist and this podcast didn't exist and you were watching wrestling for pleasure, I know that's a foreign concept for you. Would you put, out of those 6 shows, which one would be your lowest priority?
Under Siege for sure.
Even below the Battleground.
Yeah. There's enough good workers on Battleground that I'm like, all right, Dragunov versus Dijak and Noam Dar versus Dragon Lee, and hell, that Wesley, Tyler Bate, Joe Gacy will probably be pretty decent. And I don't know. There's enough stuff I like on that show that, I don't care about any of it, but it's like on paper, it's fundamentally going to be a good show.
Did I say 6 shows? The Blood Money Show, Battlegrounds, Double or Nothing, Best of Super Junior Final, Under Siege.
Yeah.
There's 5. There's
five.
But I'd put
Under Siege. Yeah, 5th. Unfortunately. Sorry, Impact fans, but yeah, Under Siege is
so Double or Nothing would be number 1.
Yes. Best of Super Juniors number 2. What else have I got here?
You got
Double or Nothing, Best of Super Juniors. Tough choice here. Blood Money or Battleground? The Blood Money show. Blood Money show, and then Battleground, then Under Siege.
Okay. I think it's a fair order. I think that'd be my order as well. I hate NXT with every fiber of my being. And I still would watch it before the Under Siege show.
The most unfortunate thing has happened that on our Discord, anytime Roxanne Perez cuts a promo, I just get tagged by everybody.
Oh, yeah.
So I show up Tuesday nights on my phone is just exploding with notifications. I sign in on Discord and it's got like 8 is like the little red dot is. Yes. I'm like, oh no, what's going on? And I go to WWE and people are like, Rich, Roxanne Perez. And I'm like, please stop.
Rich sees that and he's like, one of two things happened. Roxanne Perez cut a promo or Joe got canceled again.
Right. I don't know which. Luckily, it's almost always Roxanne cut another horrible promo. So,
right. She has reached, for me personally, Roxanne Perez and her little gimmick here and her promos and the way she's presented. I'm sure she's a lovely lady. She has reached Otis, Johnny Hungy levels of off-putting, annoying. WWE, who's the ring announcer that growls? She's up there.
Well, they have 2 growlers.
No, but the prime growler.
The prime growler is the NXT lady. I forget what her name is.
No.
Oh, you're thinking of Irvin? You're thinking of Irvin. You're thinking of, because there's Alicia. I don't know if she still does it, but they're Alicia Taylor. But then the one you're thinking of, Irvin. I think Stephanie Irvin or whatever. That's the main roster growler.
Yeah, she's up there. That's my Mount Rushmore of annoying wrestling people that make me want to put my head through the TV. What's her name? Samantha Irvin?
Samantha, yeah, I think it's Samantha Irvin.
Does she fucking suck?
Someone's gonna correct us. Yeah,
she's the worst ring announcer I've ever heard. I can't listen to her announce people. It's so off-putting and annoying. Then there's Johnny Hungy. Can't stand him. Otis, of course. Cannot stand the Otis. And then Roxanne Perez. I cannot fucking stand Roxanne Perez. And her stupid little promos. And annoying fucking chipmunk voice and those promos. I can't take it.
It's really bad.
With the bad enunciation and cadence. That's my 4, I think. Right now, currently. Oh, and Bobby Orlando. I gotta throw him in there.
Goat guy?
There's a 5th.
The goat guy.
Yeah.
Bobby Orlando.
God. Everything I hate about the indies wrapped up in one package. Bobby Orlando. Going a little off the board there with that one. So anyway, that was Night of Champions and Battleground.
Yeah, hey, there
coming
it is.
Up this weekend.
Yeah, make sure you're watching those.
Is there any links for those?
I got nothing. We don't make any money on those, so watch them, don't watch them. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me.
Fucking bullshit ass company. Bullshit ass company. You know, it feels good again to just completely fucking bury
it.
Yeah,
we had like 3 months where we were like, well, then they could do this, and then if they do this, and now I'm just like, I don't know, whatever. Gunther and Mustafa Ali, who fucking cares? You know what I mean? Who cares?
I love not caring about it. I love not wanting to talk about it.
Yeah.
I love not feeling obligated to talk about it. You know, that's so freeing, you know? So I don't want to sit here and break down Trish Stratus versus Becky Lynch. I don't want to do it, Rich. I don't care what Wes Lee is up to in NXT. And, you know, Gallus has no appeal to me now that they've changed their theme song. So there's not even that aspect of it. Let's do some New Japan.
Let's talk about, let's start with the Best of Super Juniors. Coming up this weekend, finals and semifinals. We're going to have the 2 semifinals. They're doing a little different this year. We have Mike Bailey, the winner of the A block. He's going to face the B block runner-up, Master Wato. And then the winner of that will face the winner of this match, El Desperado, the winner of the B block, who is going to be facing the A block runner-up, Teton. So what do you think about those names there? Are you surprised, or is those basically the names that you thought? I don't know. I've seen some people surprised about Teton and maybe surprised about Wato. Desperado feels like that one isn't too off board. And Mike Bailey, I don't know. It depends on what you thought of Mike Bailey coming in and where, where you thought he was in the wrestling pecking order. I'm not super surprised that Mike Bailey's in this spot. I'm not surprised about El Desperado, and I'm really not surprised about Teton either. Wato's maybe the one that's a little surprising they had put him in this spot, but I don't feel like he's going to win. I feel like we're probably setting up for a Bailey Desperado final, but I don't know. Where do you stand on the semifinals and then ultimately the finals?
I'm shocked by Teton. You're not surprised by that?
No, not really.
Shocked.
No, not really.
Well,
he gets that LIJ. He got that LIJ rub. I don't know. I just kind of, some part of me thought that, looking at the list of guys, it just felt like they gave him that new rub. They gave him the LIJ thing. I don't know. I don't know. It just didn't. Yeah, it didn't shock me the way it seemed to have shocked a lot of other people.
Fucking amazing Kreskin over here. I don't know. I didn't.
I mean, I wasn't gonna bet on it if you put it. I wasn't betting the house on one Teton, but I don't know. I wasn't super like Leo Rush would have been maybe the one that a lot of other people would have thought, but Teton getting that stamp of the LIJ, I thought that gave him enough credibility to possibly win this thing.
Yeah, that one Teton shocks me. None of the others surprise me. I mean, Mike Bailey, we didn't know how they were going to treat him in the booking. But early on in the tournament, when we quickly saw that he was going to get respect in the booking and the way he performed, I mean, he was the best wrestler in this tournament. So, it doesn't surprise me now that we're at the end of this thing. And Wato doesn't surprise me. I would prefer him not to be in the semifinal. Even for all his improvements, I'm still not interested in watching him wrestle. I've watched every match of this tournament, and when his music hits, I'm like, all right, let me fuck with my phone and
he
half watch.
Still kind of
not into
feels
him.
like a gutsy underdog thing. You know what I mean? Like, I don't feel like that's a dude that's there because he's better than everybody else. You know what I mean? Like Mike Bailey has
kind of the appeal.
Yeah, and I get that, but that doesn't appeal to me, and I know that doesn't appeal to you.
Yeah.
And I get why some people are like, the gutsy underdog has done it, but I want Mike Bailey, who's just like beat everybody, you know what I mean? Like just basically beat everybody and earned his spot. And you knew definitively, whereas, that Wato thing of the gutsy underdog, just kind of fighting through perseverance. Like, I just want guys that are like clearly better than everybody else. That's who I want in this thing. But with that said, like, the improvements are definitely there. And Wato has been a lot better. And I think he's been decent in this Best of the Super Juniors. I just don't fully connect with him just yet, but we'll see.
I would like to see Mike Bailey win. Now, he did beat Hiromu on night one.
Yeah.
And I talked about this the last couple of weeks. If he gets through, then Hiromu could get the win back. So that's what I would do, and that's what I hope that they do. But, I don't know. The most boring outcome would be Despy, but also the most likely probably. And if they go with one of the other two, I'd be genuinely fucking stunned. You could knock me out with a fucking brick if they go with Wato or Teton as the winner of the whole thing.
Teton, let's do it. I like it. Let's fucking do it with Teton.
I wouldn't mind it. I wouldn't mind.
It's
Teton.
a cool story, right? Because it's LIJ. It's like, it's Teton's got that way. Because so the guys that beat Hiromu in the tournament, you have Leo Rush, Mike Bailey, and Teton. Obviously, Leo Rush not in the finals, not in the mix. Could he maybe get a title shot somewhere down the line or whatever? Yeah, you could definitely do that. Like you said, Bailey makes all the sense in the world. Bailey wins, goes back at Hiromu. They have that rematch. Hiromu gets his win back over Bailey. Okay, that's fine. Teton, he did it too. I guess you could run that back. I mean, they had a really, really good match too. A really good back and forth, well-told match. That's a hell of a push though for Teton. You know what I mean? That is a rocket pack of all rocket packs. But I think he's more likely to me than Wato, for sure, right? Like, Wato's 4 out of 4 for you, right?
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it.
Yeah, and then I guess it's probably Teton and then Bailey and Desperado. I probably, if I was a betting man, I'd probably go with Desperado, but I think it's a lot more fun if it's Bailey or Teton.
Do you think the Taiji Ishimori injury forced any changes?
I was thinking about that a little bit earlier,
because
he had one forfeit to TJP, right?
Yeah.
Did he have any other? I don't think he had any other forfeits though, right? Every other match was.
Well, he lost the Hiromu match was referee stoppage.
Oh, right. So I guess that you can kind of.
I guess we don't know who was going to win that, but the thing is, Hiromu kind of had to win that to set up getting knocked out by Teton.
Right, exactly. So I tend to think that he was probably going to win that match anyway.
Yeah,
because it just wouldn't have worked.
He technically would have been alive going into the final night, Ishimori, but he would have been like a tiebreaker deal. So I don't know, but probably not. He probably would have lost that match to Hiromu anyway, and then probably lost to TJP just to officially knock him out. So I tend to think it didn't change anything, but it had to be brought up. And Ishimori has some kind of cervical injury or something. I mean,
yeah, it didn't look good. Yeah, he landed on his neck, and let me see what the exact injury that they're saying it is right now, but it does not sound like it's something that's.
So while you're looking that up, that show on the 21st from Korakuen Hall was the best show of the tournament, surpassing night 1 from Korakuen Hall. That show fucking rocks. I had 4 notebook matches on that show, which nearly matched the whole rest of the tournament combined. I think I only had 5 or 6 otherwise coming into that show. But Mike Bailey versus Taguchi, I thought was fantastic. Dan Maloney versus Robbie Eagles. That match fucking rocked. And we talked about Dan Maloney
he
last
got
week,
himself
how it's like,
he got himself on the right track, man. He really did.
Man, do we look like fucking prophets after that conversation? Because
we really do.
he has looked nothing but great since last week. He found his footing, he found his confidence, and that explosiveness and that aggressiveness that he wasn't showing early, it came out of him in that Robbie Eagles match. And I don't know, did you see the Clark Connors match?
Oh,
yet?
yeah, I
You
love
might
that
not have
match.
seen
That match ruled. That match was fucking
Holy
great. Yeah.
shit, did that fucking rule.
Yeah.
So Maloney has totally, on the back end of the tour, like we suspected might happen, found his comfort level and just totally just started kicking ass. And now you're like, holy shit, they better bring him back. And then Leo Rush, TJP, that fucking rocked. And then the Despy Francisco Akira match, that might be the best match of the whole fucking tournament to this point. So that show on the 21st from Korakuen Hall, again, we like to give recommendations to people. I would say if you're truly just a casual New Japan viewer, watch night 1 from Korakuen Hall and then watch night 8 from Korakuen Hall, and you will see basically just about all the best stuff from the tournament.
Right. I like the final 2 nights in Osaka, I think, had a lot of really cool stuff, but a lot of it was sort of stories being completed from the best of the series. I mean, there were some good matches in there for sure, no doubt. Like you talk about Leo Rush and Bailey. I mean, that was a hell of a match. And like you said, Connors and Maloney. But those are 2 nights that, like, I couldn't recommend in whole unless you've watched a lot of the other Best of the Super Juniors. Like, that Taguchi story, that might not land with you. The Taguchi finally using his ass to get a win, like, that might not land with you if you didn't watch the entire tournament or whatever. You might be like, I don't get what the big deal is. But, yeah, if you watch New Japan for a while, that was rewarding you for being a longtime New Japan viewer or watching throughout the whole tournament. And I kind of felt like the last 2 nights of Osaka were that. They were kind of finishing up stories, guys ending their runs here. With that said, like, they were 2 really, really good shows. I enjoyed those. But, yeah, I would think that night 1 and what was it, night 8 are like, just watch both those nights and you're going to get like everything you need out of the Best of the Super Juniors tournament.
Not to totally discount everything you said, but I was kind of just talking about like the random block nights. I think the Osaka shows, like, you could jump in there because those are like the block deciders, But I agree. Like, I thought the A block night, there was one less match because Ishimori TJP wasn't in the mix. But the Bailey Leo Rush match was great. And the show match was just garbage, but he just does his gimmick. He brought out like an imposter Dookie.
Yeah.
And was beating him. And then the other Dookie escaped from fucking being tied up or whatever. Just total silliness.
I think, yeah, I'm hitting the 30-second thing on show matches moving forward. So life's too short.
Yeah,
for
it's
that.
just silliness. Yeah, it's and then the big Teton upset of Hiromu, and then the next night was the B block stuff with the highlight being Despy and Robbie Eagles. I thought was easily the best match of that night. Well, Maloney Clark Connors. Listen, that wasn't like a traditional wrestling match because
that was a fight, man. That was awesome.
It was a fight, and it's like 2 guys. Look, they had, what I learned from that was they have great chemistry, and I'd love to see them wrestle again because they really laid it in. They brawled all over the building. Then they brawl for like 10 minutes. They get in the ring, and then the bell rings. Then they beat the shit out of each other some more. They both have tape hanging off of their body, right? And then Maloney wins it by count out in what was just a total fucking war. And Maloney was over with the Osaka crowd. after that one too. So, but that was like something a little different, you know. The other matches on that night were kind of just there, where they were kind of just there. So that and Despy versus Eagles, you know, were the two standouts. But yeah, it all sets up the final, which is there's two shows, the semifinal and then the final. So they're really dragging this thing out. So we've got the two semifinal matches back in Tokyo, but that slightly bigger building. They're not corking for this one. And, you know, a bunch of tags underneath. And that's going to be on the 24th. The 26th, late tonight.
Yep. And
then they're taking a day off. And then the Ota City Gym, we don't know the card yet, but we know the Super Junior final is going to be on top. So, yeah, any other thoughts on Super Juniors? I mean, we'll be right back at it next week with the two final shows.
Yeah, no, I just think ultimately, I think a tournament that probably over-delivered for me. I mean, there were some lulls. There were, you know, like we talked about the dog days, but I think all in all, like a really good tournament. They brought the goods here. Everybody they brought in from the outside was really good in terms of, you know, they had guys that were kind of in their purview, but, you know, or in their, you know, big universe. Like Leo Rush is kind of in their universe or whatever, but still bringing him in. Teton coming in and giving him that push, and Mike Bailey coming in. All those guys were really good, and I just think everybody else delivered. And yeah, the Dan Maloney thing looked through the first couple of nights like an absolute disaster. And yeah, like you said, we said, hey, stick with it. This guy, you know, he's capable of doing so much more, and he's capable of being so much better. And I think him delivering as much as he did on the last half of the card, or last half of the tour, really helped a lot. And it made pretty much everybody. And I thought. Honestly, I thought Taguchi's matches were really good throughout the entire tournament. He brought his A game. Really, with the exception of Sho, I can't say that anybody really didn't. Bushi, I guess, sometimes doesn't land for me. It's kind
Bushi's
of okay.
Just there.
Yeah, he's kind of just there. I can't not. I have to disclose the Bushi. You know, I can't say that he's perfect. You know, but pretty much everybody else I thought was great. So that
there was something to sink your teeth into,
right? With every other guy.
And if you were into Sho's antics, because it was mostly played for comedy, then you probably didn't mind that either.
Right, and some people like that. I just have no time for it. But if you have time for it, it's not bad. Like it's decent wrestling comedy. I just don't really need it in my life. So
what the fuck is up with the way they booked Kushida? Because then he loses to Taguchi.
Yeah, I don't know. I shocked that he had 4 points. He was just out of the mix like halfway through the tour and just ate so many. I don't know if they're just like mad at the guy for leaving and they're telling him that he's got to, but he's been back for a while now. I don't know. Is he leaving again?
He's a champion. He holds a fucking title.
I don't know. He lost to Dookie. He lost to Leo Rush. He lost to Taguchi. He lost to Ishimori. He lost to Teton, and he lost to TJP. He beat Mike Bailey. That's it. He beat Mike Bailey and he beat Sho.
I would have lost the fucking deed to my house if before the tournament, if someone said, I bet you Kevin Knight finishes with more points.
Yeah, Kevin Knight had 6 points. Right.
You know, so I don't know. I thought his booking was peculiar, to say the least. So yeah, we'll have 2 more of these shows, and then after that it'll be Dominion's on the 4th, right? So
yeah, they got that little junior festival thing coming up sometime soon too. So there's a lot of stuff going on there.
All right, so Dominion we want to talk about. We'll talk about Dominion next week.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna wrap up the Super Juniors next week, and then also preview Dominion.
Correct.
So that's how it's gonna play out.
Yep.
Yeah. When is that junior gimmick in?
I just had it and I lost it. Let me get it again. It was on the. Oh, sorry. No, that's not until August. I'm sorry. I was looking at the wrong schedule. That's not until August. We got time. The one that we're going to have to talk about pretty soon is that All Together again is what I meant. That's until the 9th. We got until the 9th for that one. So plenty of time.
That's the 9th. So
that's the 9th. So it's a couple days after Dominion. Dominion's on 6/4, and then this is on the 9th.
We'll not talk about that for 2 weeks because that'll be on Friday. So, yeah, we don't have to talk about that until the week we review Dominion.
Correct.
We'll review Dominion and preview that.
Correct.
All right, so that's that. All right, so this Resurgence.
Yeah, let's talk Resurgence.
Did you watch the pre-show?
I did not watch the pre-show, no. Just the main show.
I watched the pre-show.
What was on the pre-show?
What was on the pre-show?
It seemed long.
It was
because my video file, I had to skip a lot to get to the main
nah,
show.
it's not dead time.
Oh, was it? Okay. Because it was like an hour and 40 minutes on my preview, and I'm like, what the hell was on the pre-show? But it probably the New Japan World screen for most of it, right?
For a lot of it. It was the fucking robot guy against Christopher Daniels, Alex Coughlin.
Alex Coughlin. At first, I was like, who are you talking about?
It's funny because people say Christopher Daniels wrestles like a robot sometimes, and he wrestled the robot guy. And it was the DKC and Bateman. I don't even remember who won. So that tells you how much of an impression it made.
I'm being told Bateman defeated the DKC, is what I'm being told. So.
I think that's wrong. Let me look this up.
I don't think it is. Who told you it's wrong? You're going off your memory, which you just literally said seconds ago you don't remember who won.
Yeah, I don't remember who won. I thought DKC won the match, but I could be wrong.
We'll never know. There's no way to know, so it's okay.
Yeah, we'll do a running bit. 3,000 fans in the
Joe, I think you're right.
I'm telling you, I think DKC won.
So Wikipedia says Bateman defeated the DKC. They got to change that because Cage Match says the DKC beat Bateman.
Where's the swink when you need him?
I know, and nobody in the No-Dope chat room. Clearly, not a lot of pre-show watchers in the No-Dope chat room because we get something wrong. We got 17 people telling us we said it wrong.
We got
Nobody's
a bunch of
us. Nobody's corrected us.
A bunch of Fugazi New Japan fans in the chat because none of them know who won the match either.
Nobody wants the buy-in.
Well, I know that Coughlin beat Christopher Daniels.
That I believe is true. Yes, that Cage Match and Wikipedia do agree with that. Yes, that Coughlin defeated Christopher Daniels.
I remember that finish. Okay, so don't tell me. Nice house. This is going to be bigger than some of the Collision houses. This 2,903 fans in Long Beach. So, home of Montel Jordan, right? This is how we do it.
Yeah, I believe, yeah. Snoop Doggy Dog, also from
Listen, there's not a person listening to the show who, when Montel Jordan, This Is How We Do It comes on, you don't turn that up.
It's such a great song.
You have to.
It's good with like immediately. Like 4 seconds in, you're just like, fuck, this song's awesome. It's just like he does the This Is How We Do It, and then that first beat hits, and you're like, fuck, this song's great. Yeah, and then you listen to it all the time.
There's no wasted time. You know, it goes right to the fucking high spots in that one. Like there's no fucking mat work. There's no fucking grapple fuck. This Is How We Do It. It just hits you right in the mouth as soon as it comes on. So, absolutely. He's like 6'11". He played at Long Beach State.
Montel Jordan, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was a college player at Long Beach State. Montel Jordan. He's fucking freakishly tall. He was like a power forward or something. You could fact check me on that too. But DKC won, according to the New Japan website.
Okay,
according to
that, I think that seems pretty official. So let's go with that.
So I would like an apology, number one. And number two, it's funny because no one in the chat, there's no one watched because someone had to look on the New Japan website to determine who won this match. So, the Swink, can't find him with a search party, Rich. Can't find the guy. He didn't watch either. He watches everything. Hold on, I got a cough. I'm at the doctor's office getting my balls fondled here, coughing constantly. All right, so let's get reorganized here.
You're right over there, pal. You even handle this, or you got it?
You mushed me. You know what? Can you take us through the matches? Because I gotta take. Yeah.
I got you. Yeah, you're good. Well, I'll take you through some of the matches. I do want your thoughts on a few of the big time matches, but the actual show itself started out with Kevin Ario and Virus versus TMDK, Bad Dude Tito, and Zack Sabre Jr. Kevin Ario and Virus getting the win over Bad Dude Tito and Zack Sabre Jr. So that fun little match, a fun little opener.
Fucking ruled.
It ruled.
It
yeah,
ruled.
It was really. And that's where like the video I got kind of screwed up because I went so fast, through the video to try to get to where the show started, and then I'm watching these guys and I start the match with them and I'm like, man, what a fucking hell of a match. I'm thinking, man, this had to be like in the middle part of the show or like no, it was the opener and it was really really good. And I'm thinking, I think Cavanario and Virus have to go to New Japan and wrestle proper New Japan for a lot. I mean, they were great in this match. And Cavanario is a guy that's I always love. And there was that couple years ago where everybody kind of thought this was like the next dude. You know what I mean? Like everybody thought this is going to be the guy. And then CMLL had their weird thing where they just weren't that good. And I would check in and people would be like, he's fine. He's just kind of doing whatever. He's fucking great, man. He's just as good as he was a couple years ago. So I hope to see more Cavanario in this year. And Virus was right there with him too. So Sabre working with these guys was great. Bad Dude Tito, no slouch either. But Sabre with those two guys was just magic, just absolute magic.
Yeah. And Virus has had a handful. He's had 2 or 3 matches this year that I've really enjoyed. Okay, match of the year contenders, no, but a lot of the stuff in Arena Mexico, he's had some lightning matches that I've enjoyed, that I've written about behind the paywall. So it was nice to see him get booked on a show like this. Kind of an unheralded guy.
Yeah.
Who's very popular in some circles. Perfect guy to get in there with Zack Sabre Jr. especially. And I thought this match was so much fun. So much fun.
Then you had so we had the semifinals and the finals of the New Japan Strong Women's tournament. So the semifinals, we could probably just do them all at the same time. It's probably a little bit easier.
Do them all. Yeah, do them all.
So you had Mercedes versus Stephanie. What's it? Vacure? How do you exactly pronounce it? However you pronounce it, she fucking rocks. I have never seen her wrestle before, or if I did, I just forgot about it. I thought she was fucking great. I want to see more of her in because I thought it was one of Mercedes' best matches, post WWE. And yeah, I want to see more of Vacure. I mean, she was really good there, neck and neck, and they had a really fun back and forth match, countering each other's counters, like real good mat wrestling, grappling. I mean, this way blew away my expectations. I didn't really know about her much at all, and like I said, I don't remember if I've ever seen her, but I need to see more. And I was just blown away. I thought she was spectacular in this match, and Mercedes was great too.
Yeah, I thought both semifinal matches were excellent. And the crowd was really into both of them too. And, the winners were kind of predictable in both cases.
Yeah.
But,
you knew that was going to be the final.
Yeah. And Willow in there with this Momo Kogo. I mean, that was an excellent match too. Where's she from? Is she Stardom?
She's Stardom. Yeah, I believe she is Stardom.
Oh yeah. It's New Japan. I should know that. Yeah. It's so, no, I thought both matches were very close in quality and both very good in the semifinals. So, and then the final, since we're going to lump them all together, was really shaping up to be great.
Oh, God, it was so good. Yeah, I knew, I watched this after, so I knew the injury was coming. I didn't know when it happened in the match. So as this match is going on, I'm like thinking, you know what? It's probably not even going to be a match that's worth talking about because she's going to get hurt and it's going to kind of end it. They got almost 14 minutes in. I think 13 minutes and 34 seconds or whatever was the final match time. I mean, they were like, 12 minutes into this match, and it was really, really, really good. And it sucks because obviously once she gets hurt, everything kind of changes. They have to completely redo a lot of the stuff. But man, I thought they were having a hell of a match before this, and it sucks because my first thought was, okay, whatever, she's gonna get hurt and the match is gonna kind of be whatever. But it was like, it's even more gutting because it was like they had a really, really good match in them. And then the injury happens and it just kind of throws everything for a loop. I'll give Mercedes credit too. I thought the injury happened and they just kind of rolled in the ring and ended it. She was out there still trying to work and still trying to do as much as she could with a fractured ankle. But, eventually, and things were kind of weird too. Like, obviously they did you agree that like Mercedes is going to win this match, right? And they pivoted to Willow.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. I mean, it sure seems that way.
Which is
I see a lot of
interesting
people...
with the questions of like, New Japan's pushing. Like, did they not watch this match? Because like Willow, it's clear that Mercedes rolls in. She says something. They do a little bit of a move. She bends over. She says something to Willow. Willow kind of rolls over and it's like wrestlers. You can tell when wrestlers are talking or whatever. Yeah, and they were doing a lot of that because I'm sure at some point she goes, I fucked my ankle up. My ankle's ruined. Like, you got to win. You got to win. You got to win. And then Willow's kind of just like, you sure? Like, kind of like, I don't really. And then they go to it, but then the referee clearly didn't get clued in because they do that weird. She does the power bomb. And then the referee's like, 1, 2.
And he doesn't want to counter out.
Mercedes, her shoulders up. And it's like, no, it's not. And then they must have said, like, no, she's gonna win. And then Willow picks her up again and drops her, and then he finally counts 3.
You could see the referee. Willow gets up and she's agitated, and then she's like, all right, So then she does the Jerry Lawler thing and she pulls down the straps to kind of distract. But if you're paying attention, the ref is now leaned over to Sasha and they're having the conversation. So at that point, she clues him in. So I think you're right. I think Sasha was supposed to, or Mercedes, whatever the fuck.
Yeah, I mean, she was going to win.
would-
That's why this title was created. It wasn't created for Willow Nightingale. I mean, no offense to Willow
Right.
Nightingale. It was created for Mercedes, man. Like, what are we doing here?
But that's a bold move to call an audible and put the other person over without, that typically would come from the back. So, I'm not 100% certain, but I'm 75% certain that Mercedes was supposed to win this match just based on the referee being terrified to count 3 and then totally.
Yeah,
I mean, that would
exactly, and that's where, like, because I've seen some people say, like, well, no, it kind of made sense in the story and and you wouldn't give her the title, but no, and it's like you said, you can tell when she does that first power bomb and the ref is like, I'm not counting 3. Like, fuck you. I'm not doing that. I'm not getting in trouble for this. So he gets, like, I don't know if he thought she was knocked out or whatever, or that was, but it was clear from that moment then to do the same move over again and to make sure that you take the time to slow down, tell the referee, hey, this is what's happening now, do the powerbomb again. Yeah, to me, that was all clear. So I don't know what anybody who doesn't think that this is clearly not the way the finish was supposed to go. And like you said, it's bold too, because like Willow's an AEW wrestler that's in this thing. So it causes a whole lot of kerfuffle, but I mean, in the end, it's the right move. If Mercedes can't, if she wins that title and immediately has to vacate it, that's a bad move too. But yeah, for people being like, hey, Tony, you should push Willow. And it's like, well, she wasn't gonna win this match. You know what I mean? Like,
plus, did you hear the way Tony answered?
Yeah.
He was like, once he got agitated, he was like, well, I do think this was a really, really big upset
right.
for Willow to win this match.
Because he could probably tell these people didn't watch the match. Because if you watch the match, you would know what was going on.
And you could tell by the way, like he said it just like I just said it. If you go back and listen to the audio. And then he's very perturbed and talking about how he recommended her. And then he was at the end of his little diatribe, he was like, we have a great New Japan Strong champion now, though. We do have a great champion now.
Yeah.
And he was and he basically revealed that he had Mercedes booked for Forbidden Door because Nick Hausman asked him directly. He said, "Does the Mercedes injury change booking Forbidden Door plans?" And he said, "Look," he says, his direct quote was, "Only me and Mercedes know what we had planned." It was basically saying she was going to be on the show in some form.
Right.
And then he went on to say that we don't know when she's going to be able to wrestle again, meaning him and her. So, yeah, it seems as though she was supposed to win this match and probably defend that title in some form. Maybe lose it to Willow even. Who knows? On the Forbidden Door show. So, yeah, I don't know. I tend to side with you based on the totally perplexed referee, who they should have very clearly done a better job of cluing in if they were going to change the finish.
Right, and the post-match promo, too, by Willow. She did a good job with it, but it didn't feel like something that she was fully prepared to do when she got to the arena that day. You know what I mean?
Oh, well, I don't know if you noticed. She was at ringside slapping 5, and one of the someone in a New Japan warm-up jacket whispered in her, like got in her ear and whispered and pointed to the ring. And then she nodded, and she got into the ring to cut the promo.
See, I didn't even notice that. Okay, so yeah, again, like, come on. There's so many things pointing to this.
That's more evidence
yeah.
because I don't think she knew she was supposed to She wasn't clued in on the fact that they wanted her to promo, which tells you that she probably didn't even know she was going to win. So, yeah, I'm with you. She was probably not supposed to win this match. But look, it was on pace to be great. I mean, they were really on their way to having a great match.
All right.
And it was still pretty good, honestly.
It was still really good. Yeah, it was still really good. It's just like, man, if they could have just actually had a finish, like it probably would have been really, really good. But yeah, unfortunately, it's just, so much happened and what is it? Fractured ankle, I think, is her official injury. So that's not good. That's going to be a while for Mercedes. So I don't know.
It could be a while. Yeah, it could be a while.
Yeah, that's a tough injury. But hey, credit to her for gutting through it, staying in the match, trying to wrestle on one foot, which is also, I mean, God, you could call so many more things can happen by trying to wrestle on one foot too. I mean, you have so many more
hopping around.
Yeah, I was thinking that. I'm like, oh my God, you're gonna tear your ACL doing this. Like, just reel it. But yeah, it just sucks for her. So we'll see when she comes back. But yeah, when she came out, man, that pop This is her house. You know what I mean? Like that pop when she came out for that first semifinal was massive. So yeah, a lot of people there. People jumping up and down, grown men and women jumping up and down to see Mercedes it live and in the flesh.
They were into this tournament and into the idea of, you got the sense it was a crowd that was like, look, there's a big night for women in New Japan, and we're going to make sure these fuckers get over. That's the sense you got from the crowd.
And then we had Juice Robinson and Fred Rosser, a street fight. I've seen mixed views on this. I thought this rocked. I thought this match was cool as fuck. Where are you on with this one?
I liked it too. I thought it was a little too long.
Did not need to be 23 minutes. 23 minutes is too long, for sure. You
could have done this in 17 minutes. You could have done this in 15 minutes. But they wrestled to the story, and it was just a bunch of fucking plunder silliness that I actually, I did. I enjoyed this as well. I've seen a lot of people say they hated it, and I get it. But aside from the length, and then Tony Storm gets involved, I thought it was fun. I did. I just thought it was a little too long.
They also did like as many like tropes as you could possibly do, which is fine. Like, and they did it like it was a fight that had weapons, but then they like the first half of it was like a fight that had weapons, and then they started getting really tropey and stuff, and that's where I could see that some people didn't like particularly love it, because then you have like Rosser kissing Tony Storm and then going like what I mean, like which was kind of funny too, and then like it got a little, it was just like, all right, we got it, reel it in, like let's go home, guys. Let's go home. Let's finish this. Yeah, little too long, but I thought it was a little bit better than I've seen some people really hated it, and I didn't hate it that much. I thought it was pretty.
But I can understand why people.
Oh, for sure, because sometimes these street fights I fucking cannot stand and I hate them. But this one, sometimes they land for you, and this was one of the ones that landed for me. So, Joe, how late do you want to go on the show? Because I had a little bit of a game here that we could play. Are you willing to play? How many more matches do we got?
3
more matches. You want to play a little game?
I'll play a game.
You want to play a little game? All right.
I will play a game.
All right. You're not going to hear this music.
Are you Jigsaw? Like, what are you are you the computer from War Games? Like, how many times are you going to ask me if I want to play a game? Yes,
All
I'll
right.
play the game.
Let's play the game. This came from the mind of Jack Beckman, Voices of Wrestling contributor. You might know, Joe, that New Japan Pro Wrestling has the New Japan Academy. Are you aware of the New Japan Academy?
No.
That's where you're out. You don't know what the New Japan Academy is. Okay.
Now I'm in trouble.
Okay. That's all right. You don't know what the New Japan Academy is? That's no problem. In a post, New Japan Pro Wrestling announced they will hold the New Japan Academy Showcase at the LA Dojo on June 10th. The showcase will feature students in the spring 2023 class, and talent will compete in matches against classmates, coaches, and other wrestlers. The coaches are Fred Rosser, the DKC, Kevin Knight, and Royce Isaacs. So no Katsuyori Shibata. He did like a little, I don't know if you saw, he did like a little peace out thing for the LA Dojo. So he appears to be done with the LA Dojo. I don't know what his next step is. We'll see. But there were some names announced for the showcase show. So Joe, you need to determine, I'm gonna give you 12 names, and I have a tiebreaker too. 12 names. You have to tell me, are these New Japan Academy wrestlers or a fake wrestler? Okay?
Okay.
All right, you got this. So, New Japan Academy wrestler that is going to be wrestling on this show, or are they a fake wrestler?
All right, let's go.
We'll start with number 1, Elliot Crow, but the Crow is spelled with a Q. Q-R-O-W. Elliot Crow with a Q.
Okay. Pizzagate gimmick? The Q.
Oh, you're right. I didn't think of that. Yeah, maybe.
I will say, just because it's way too stupid with the Q, that this is an actual student. Yeah.
Ding, 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 ding. Indeed. Yes, he is a actual student, Elliot Crow. Number 2, Guy Stevenson. Guy Stevenson.
That sounds like the host of a game show, Guy Stevenson. I will say that is a fake wrestler.
You are correct. 2 for 2. Guy Stevenson, not a real wrestler. Darius the Crusher. Darius the Crusher.
I have to say that if hardwood rich mahogany is not one of the options,
I wish it was. But no gimmicks needed. Steve the Samurai. That's my favorite one. Every time I hear that one, I just come unglued. No gimmicks needed.
What's the-
Steve the
what's-
Samurai.
What's the cat scratch?
Oh,
one?
Cat Scratch Frederick. That was from our game. Chuck Taylor had the no gimmicks needed, but our game was Cat Scratch Frederick, and I'll never forget. Just 20 minutes of us laughing.
To this day. Oh God, the meme with the guy in court. To this day, it's hilarious. What's this guy's name now?
Darius the Crusher.
Sounds like someone who handed a zip file to Tony Khan. I would say that this is a real wrestler.
Darius the Crusher is a fake wrestler. You are incorrect. Sorry. But plenty of time to get back on track here. Number 4, Alec Bolsdale. Alec Bolsdale.
Fake.
Incorrect. Alec Bolsdale is indeed a real wrestler and will be appearing at the New Japan Academy show. Honest John.
Real.
Correct. That's a tough one. Honest John does not seem like he'd be real. But Honest John
Sounds like someone who would work a Circle 6 show doing a priest gimmick or something.
Yeah, or one of the this is one of the early 11:45 a.m. Circle 6 shows.
Yes.
Right there with the Cajun guy, the
Yeah.
crazy Cajun. Crazy Cajun versus Honest John. Number 6, Butch Slaughter.
Nah, that's a try-hard fake wrestler.
That is indeed a fake wrestler. So you are right now. You are. Oh no, sorry.
Yeah,
So you did Butch Slaughter fake, right? You are correct. Okay.
Yeah.
So you are four correct, 2 incorrect. Sam Sara.
Real.
Real indeed. Sam Sara is going to be on the New Japan Academy shows. Number 8, Casper Lund.
Lund?
Casper Lund. Lund.
Real.
Casper Lund is fake. I am sorry. Incorrect. Number 9, Red Williams.
That sounds fake. Fake.
No, Red Williams is a. Oh, man, we might have to use this tiebreaker here. You have 1, 2, 4 incorrects, 5 correct.
4.
So here we go.
5
Okay.
and 4. 5 and 4.
Number 10, Bryson Montana.
Real.
Okay, that's kind of a trick because he's actually an NXT superstar, Bryson Montana.
Yeah, I've heard that name.
Bryson Montana. So we're not
We
going
got to throw that one out.
That one's just a joke one. Yeah, that's just that you can't
Throw it
believe
out.
Bryson Montana. The Great Luton. Lotan. The Great Luton.
Real.
Oh, the Great Luton is fake. Incorrect. Uh-oh. Holy shit. Are we? Yeah, we're 5. This is it. Make or break right here. Number 11, Zach Taylor.
That's like the Rams quarterback.
Will it
coach.
help you if I tell you that it's ZAC? No K, no H, ZAC, Taylor.
Zach Taylor with a ZAC? Zach Taylor ZAC? That's like a fucking... That's a football coach. But could there be a wrestler with the same... That's the fucking Bengals coach that was the Rams fucking quarterback coach. I'm going to say that's a real wrestler who shares the same name.
And Joe, you would be correct. You won the game. Great job figuring out the New Japan Academy wrestlers. Would you like the tiebreaker just for shits and giggles?
Yes, let's do it.
Kyriakos J. Tumbas.
What the fuck is that? That can't be fake, because why would you make up
Yeah,
something
exactly.
like that?
Yeah.
Real.
That's a real guy. I think I have it all right. Kyriakos J. Tumbas. Yes, that is a real name. So, congratulations. You've done well.
Yeah.
I'm not going to figure out how to fade this music out. Okay. It's very, very loud.
Oh, you had the music
I
going?
had music. Yeah, I had very loud music going on in the background. So,
Very nice. Okay.
great job. Great job. Honest John. I did not think you were going to get Honest John, but you did. You nailed it pretty good. So,
I know what he would look like, too. Like
right? Just a shit yarder. Like,
a beard and some long hair and
fat.
a creepy smile. Fat. Definitely fat. He's definitely fat.
Right. I don't know if this
Circle
Honest John, for the record, I don't know if this Honest John is fat. I don't think he is, but I know that the Circle
my
6,
mind
Honest John is, he's fat. He's just awful.
Fucking
Yeah.
fatso, can't
Right.
work. Yeah, it's terrible. All right, we got to get back together here.
Let's go. Okay, New Japan Strong open weight title match. Thank you for playing along here. Kenta versus Hikuleo.
I gotta tell you, I enjoyed the fuck out of this.
I did too. That was my hot take. I thought you were gonna be like, it's boring as fuck, it's stupid. I kind of liked it too.
This was just, look, do you really want to watch 2023 Kenta and Hikuleo, who I think I'm out on to?
Oh, he stinks. Hikuleo stinks.
Like, just fucking wrestle and exchange holds? No. So what do? They brawl up into the fucking bleachers, and then Kenta chucks this dude off the bleachers through a table on the floor and wins by count.
And then runs in the ring and wins by count and wins his title by count out. I loved it.
Yeah. Chuck the dude off the bleachers through a table on the floor. I so prefer what they did to attempting to have an actual match. I legitimately, non-ironically enjoyed this. And now, because I've said I've enjoyed the street fight and this bout, I can now give my take that I thought this show fucking rocked from top to bottom. I liked everything on the show.
Yeah, it was a good show. I agree. I think pretty much because those are the two matches that I thought I wasn't going to like, and then I ended up liking them a little bit. And what's cool about the Hikuleo Kenta match is that you had, because I'm initially thinking as they hit the ring, I'm thinking, Jesus, you're going to do another plunder match immediately. But this had the big table spot, but they just built the entire match to that table spot. They didn't do anything else. They didn't do anything for 11 minutes. They didn't do shit. They were just teasing one of these guys is going to get thrown off this balcony into this table, and then they did it, and then that was it. So it was one high spot, pretty much in the entire, and that's fine, that's okay. But the tension was, there was a ton of tension of like someone's gonna go through this fucking table, and when Hikuleo went through that table, the crowd exploded. It went nuts, and it worked. It absolutely worked. So yeah, bells and whistles all the way, because I do not want to watch Kenta and Hikuleo, exchange grappling, maneuvers on the mat. Like that would have been boring and bad. This was not boring and bad. This was fun. So
yeah, I enjoyed it too.
Jordan Smith in the no chat room. Honest John's Chevy Ultimate and Buick. I love it. Yeah, that's pretty good. I'm Honest John, and I always give a fair price.
He definitely isn't.
Shop the new Cutlass Classic at Honest John's Chevy Ultimate and Buick. It's like
a week and a half later, the carburetor blows.
Right. You go to Honest John. Honest John's not so nice anymore. He's like, that's not my fault. That's Ultimate. Take it up with them. It's like
you're sitting in traffic and steam is coming out from under the hood. Right.
Honest John definitely has to leave town every so often,
Yeah.
It definitely gets the local municipalities, investigating Honest John's dealings.
He skips town and he opens up Honest Paul's Oldsmobile dealership.
Like four towns over, Honest Paul opened up another dealership.
Yeah.
Blackpool Combat Club, Moxley, Yuta, Shota Umino, defeating Okada, Rocky Romero, and Tomohiro Ishii. Joe, can I tell you? Love the shooter in this match.
You know what? I've been waiting 3.5 hours to say, Rich, what'd you think of Shota Umino here?
This was good.
And then bury you if you said you didn't like him.
No, he was great.
He was great in this.
He was great in this, and honestly, the best part was the post match. Okada is laying on the mat, and he just starts kicking him in the head. The fuck out of my ring. Shota's like, get the fuck out of my ring. He's all big and bad now because he's got his boys. He's got Moxley behind him. He's got Yuta. He knows that if Okada hits him, he's got his boys to back him up. So he's just a shit ass, just a little shit ass. Get out of my ring. Get out. This is Umino. He needs his boys. He needs his guys. He's never going to be the top guy. He's never going to be the dude. But if he's got his lackeys behind him, he's got his dudes behind him, this is good. Him telling him, no, I'll take this match. I'll take this match. And Okada, Okada is just the best. But yeah, the bell rings. Umino's like, no, guys, I got this. And Okada's just like, I'm not wrestling you. It just taps out immediately. Good, just great stuff.
He worked with such passion and fire in this match. He really was great. I mean, as you were talking, I was sitting here thinking about it. And this is got to be his best performance ever. I mean, from just the way he was carrying himself alone, let alone the work was solid as fuck. But he came across more of a star here than he ever has before. This was his match. Jon Moxley and Kazuchika Okada were in this match, and this was Shota Uminu's match. I came away so impressed by him, and I wanted you to disagree, but you don't. So
I can't.
The way he even scored the pinfall, just all cocky as fuck, and I mean, he was really great here. This was very encouraging. I haven't been down on him like you have been, but not surprised at all that you were impressed. I thought you were going to dig the heels in, but no, yeah.
I'm a fair man. I'm a fair man. I cannot in good conscience tell you that Shota wasn't great here.
Yeah, and this match was great. It was the best match in the show. It was an absolute riot. So, yeah, just great stuff.
And then we had the IWGP US Heavyweight Title #1 Contendership Tournament semifinal match. I can't even believe Will was able to wrestle here, but he's back-ish. Obviously looking like he hasn't been able to lift weights or do much of anything. And I'm not like ragging on the guy. Like I get it. He's got a pretty major injury and it showed. Like this is a guy who seemed like he was just chilling at home rehabbing, and that's fine. Like it's still Will Ospreay. He's still pretty damn good even with one arm against Tanahashi, who is just, I don't know what to even say about it. But they made the best out of this. A guy who only had one arm and a guy who's probably washed at this point. And it was fine, but it's just, yeah, it's like in your head, you imagine what Will Ospreay and Hiroshi Tanahashi is going to be, and it just wasn't that. They're just, both these guys at this exact moment just can't really give you that. They can't give you what you think they're going to give you at this time. So, I don't know. I thought it was okay. It's just, yeah, Tanahashi is, I feel bad, man. It's just like, we're there, you know? We're there. We're seeing it happen in real time, but he just doesn't have it anymore.
Tanahashi is fucking finished.
It's over, right?
He's done. We're going to be having conversations about him in about a year or two that we were having about Muta. If they dare push him. But he's fucking shot. He's done. Ospreay, you noted the issues, and I still put this fucking thing in the notebook. These two guys.
Oh, it's just two all-time great pro wrestlers. They would, of course, both men are husks of their former selves, or you know, yeah. In Will's case, like I literally can't move one of my arms, and Tanahashi's just and they're just so fucking great that it was still pretty okay. It was still pretty damn good.
They did almost nothing until the last 5 minutes or so, and they still had a super compelling and very, very good match. It you know, because again, you're dealing with two of the best. And to ever do it. Two of the best to ever do it. And when you have guys like that, they find a way. And Tanahashi's getting close to the point where he won't be able to do that anymore. But he can still fake his way through a match with his charisma and putting it together in a smart way. And that hidden blade shot from the angle that they shot it was one of the coolest spots I've ever seen. The way that they shot that hidden blade. Tanahashi's on his knees and he's all wobbly and and Will Ospreay's coming straight at you. He's coming straight at the camera. You see him lurking over Tanahashi's shoulder.
Yeah, you know what's happening and you know it's going to happen. You're like, no, Tana, no.
And you're like, he's going to kill this man dead. It's going to be the end for him. And the camera is low, like between the ropes and pointing over Tanahashi's shoulder. He's out on his knees. And Will just comes straight at you like a freight train. Destroys him with the hidden blade. That move always looks like it's legitimately taking people's heads off. And it's probably super safe the way he does it. And it's just... And then he picks him up for that dopey Stormbreaker. The hidden blade
is so
needs
much better.
To be this man's
I
finish.
agree. I don't like the Storm. The Stormbreaker's fine, but it's one of those moves that the other guy has to take it perfectly and has to know what's coming and know the hidden blade is so much cooler. I wish he would just pin guys with the hidden blade. I agree.
The problem is the Stormbreaker is fine in a vacuum. It should not follow the hidden blade. Like if he wants to do the Stormbreaker as a finish, that's fine. But when he hits the hidden blade in a match like this, where Tanahashi's not the kind of guy who's going to kick out of it and, you know, have some epic, he's just going to lose. He should hit the hidden blade on people like this and just beat them. He shouldn't, it's like, and the Stormbreaker should just be a different move that he uses at another. It's just, every time he does the Hidden Blade and it looks incredible, like the most dangerous move you've ever seen. And then you're like, and then he picks him up for the stupid Stormbreaker, which feels completely unnecessary. And it drags the impact of the Hidden Blade. It's because it's saying, oh, that move, which looks like the most dangerous thing I've ever seen, isn't enough to beat the guy. He also has to do this thing. I hate it. I fucking hate it. And I wish he'd stop. But anyway, it was an incredible visual. And I still think they had a great match with all the limitations that both guys had. But man, Tanahashi,
it's over.
It's not just
it's
that
done.
His body is done. His athleticism is quickly fading as well. It's just little things that, it's over.
It's over. Yeah,
it's over.
It's over. I declared it a couple weeks ago that or a couple months ago when I was like, I think we're seeing the end here. I think we're there. Yeah, I can't fathom this guy being able to deliver like a top tier type of match anymore. We're just gonna have to adjust our expectations a little bit with Tanahashi stuff and enjoy this ride. Like this is gonna he's probably gonna have a few more years in him, like you said. And I guess we're gonna have to enjoy the ride, but we also, like you said, might start getting to the point too where you're like, just leave the memories alone. It'd be better if I wasn't watching this guy.
We're gonna get there soon.
Yeah, very, very soon. Yeah. Very soon. He's still got enough here to still, when he's in the ring with the right guy or whatever. But yeah, I think unfortunately, I think we're there. So
didn't he just have a broken rib or something too on top of it? So it's like,
I think so. Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah. He broke a rib or some stomach issue or something. Yeah. So he's 46. I mean, Jesus Christ, that's a long time to be wrestling. He's been wrestling pretty much nonstop since what? 2000. Yeah. I mean, he's been wrestling for decades now at this point. Nonstop.
What, 90, when did he start his career? Late 90s, right?
I think late 90s. I forget if he actually came in 99 or
late 90s, I think. Yeah. 98 or 99.
Yeah, I want to say I want to say 99, but I don't know off the top of my head, but yeah, probably. So that's a long time. That's a long time to be pretty much consistently
almost 25
wrestling.
Years.
Constantly. Yeah, the only time he didn't wrestle for a while was when he got fucking stabbed. But then, other than that, he's pretty much been wrestling. So
yeah.
All right. So that is Resurgence. Good show. New Japan Strong feeling hot again.
Excellent show.
Excellent show.
Excellent.
Yeah, excellent
show. And
show.
at 2,900, let me tell you, that's a really, really good number. This, they're on TV 10 o'clock at night on Axis. Okay. And they put 2,900 people in a building. So, I don't want to go too crazy about it, but
people sleep on the draw that New Japan is in America. They really do, because it does draw well, and it's part of what draws Forbidden Door. It's not 100% an AEW show. It is the New Japan draw, but it's this show you wouldn't really know. I mean, if you weren't in hardcore wrestling circles, I don't know how much the show really gets publicized or talked about or whatever. But like you said, it's
2,100 people in DC, 1,000 people in Philly in a small building, and 2,900 people, almost 3,000 people here for this show. What did Battle in the Valley did what, like 2,200 people? So, it's
well, just think of how good they would do if they were a major league, though, Joe. If only they were a major league wrestling company, they might be able to,
that absolute fucking
draw more than
that guy.
Oh, thousands upon thousands of people in a 3-day span. Yeah.
Don't get it started. We don't have time for that.
No, we do not have time for that on this show. But that is it for this episode of the Flagship Podcast. Again, make sure you're with us Sunday night immediately following Double or Nothing. Instant Reaction Live. Full show review. Match ratings. The one and only opportunity you will hear both of us review AEW Double or Nothing. Will go live immediately following the show on Sunday. FlagshipPatreon.com. Patreon.com/Voices of Wrestling. VoicesOfWrestling.com/Patreon. $10 tier for that. Also want to say, of course, lend your support to our sponsor, BetStamp. Make sure you go to the Voices of Wrestling website, voicesofwrestling.com. Subscribe to the rest of the Voice of Wrestling Podcast Network and the Voice of Wrestling Discord, voicesofwrestling.com/Discord. So that's Joe. I'm Rich. We will talk to you next time on the Flagship Podcast. Take care.
Do you love wrestling? Do you love all elite wrestling? Make sure you check out the good, the bad, and the hungy here on the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. My name is Tyler Fornes, and my co-host Fred Moreland and I discuss all the happenings of all elite wrestling across the universe, including when they make trips overseas. We talk about Dark, we talk about Rampage, we talk about Dynamite, and everything in between, including Tony Khan and his both brilliant and confusing booking. Make sure you check us out. We drop our shows on Thursdays to make sure that we keep up with Dynamite and make sure we give you all the current happenings in all elite wrestling.
Hey kids, do you like wrestling? Well, we like wrestling too. We are Shake Them Ropes here on the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Myself and Chris Novembrino kind of doing a lazy river of wrestling criticism, going through the news and whatever happened in stateside television wrestling. And also, you know what? Sometimes we just like to watch old stuff and talk about that too. Love for you to give us a listen. If you haven't already, we are Shake Them Ropes here on the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network.